Hey cuties, what's up? We are back with some more reactions after dark, and we are of course going to be watching Karen Reed's first interview after murder acquittal, obviously by Rotten Mango, obviously Stephanie. Now, this is what, like the first update on the Karen Reed stuff in a long time. I don't even know how long ago those Karen Reed videos were. I doubt I reacted to them like close to when they actually came out. It's probably been like what, a year, maybe longer. I'm not sure. It's weird that this is the first interview, apparently, allegedly, that she has done since being acquitted? Question mark. Because hasn't she been acquitted for a long time? Question mark. And somehow Stephanie was able to get in there for the first interview. I don't know. We're obviously going to see what ends up happening later on, I guess. This video is 2 hours and 24 minutes, so almost 2.5 hours, which I was kind of worried about. It was going to be like close to 3 hours, which is why we're doing this live, so I could just do it in one go in real time rather than like trying to record a video. We might be here for like 4 hours, depending on how much I end up talking, since again the video's already 2.5 hours. If I talk equally, that's already 4 hours, so kind of an oof, but that's fine. Of course, no hater segment today, and no radical break, because obviously I don't think anyone wants to be forced to watch a radical break without being able to skip it, or having the choice to skip. That's what I mean. So I think we can just get into it. I don't know if I should wait to see if anyone needs time to show up or not. We could wait a few more seconds. I mean, if I could just like think of something to talk about while I wait another minute or two for people to show up, then I would. But I don't think I really have anything to say other than I'm curious to what ends up happening in this interview. It's like, what are they going to talk about for like 2.5 hours? I don't know. No, other than like what happened, but I think we should just get to it, because I'm kind of just eager to get it going. And everyone had like what, 4 hours or so to show up, because I scheduled this like 4 hours ago, so everyone knew when it was going to start. So anyone who's going to show up is going to show up. Also, I just saw the number go up over there, so I think we've waited long enough. So someone did end up showing up after the fact. So a good thing I waited.
Bada bing, bada boom.
June 10th, 2022, Karen Reed is charged with murder. She is accused of allegedly killing her Boston cop boyfriend, John O'Keefe.
Karen, State Police, we have a search warrant.
I'm in my pajamas. I don't even have shoes on. I'm being charged with second-degree murder now?
That's correct.
I did not know we had footage of her being arrested. What the heck? We didn't see this in those other videos. I mean, we were just watching the trial stuff, right? I did not realize they had body cam footage of Karen being arrested.
You just step inside.
She was accused of running him over, leaving him for dead in the snow outside of another Boston cop's house. Is that correct?
That's correct.
For the past 3 years, Karen Reed
I paused and like started talking after just muting my mic. What am I doing? I didn't expect Karen to be in the room there. Cause like, oh, I thought she's just like standing in front of the camera all fancy like this for the intro, and then we're gonna switch to a side by side. But no, she's talking in front of Karen right now. What the heck?
has gone through a murder trial, a second murder trial. And finally, June 18th, 2025, she is acquitted of murder. Is that correct?
That's correct.
003, not guilty.
And this is her first formal sit-down interview since the acquittal.
There's a lot of people who were happy that she was acquitted. So sometime in 2025, I wonder when Stephanie actually recorded this, question mark.
Welcome to Rotten Mango, Karen.
Hi, Stephanie.
You were facing life in prison.
Yes.
June 18th, you get acquitted. What is that feeling in a way that's comparable to something someone watching can understand?
It's probably the opposite of what someone watching would assume I felt. I am still not quite living in an acquittal world. I thought I would just bounce back like on a spring. It hasn't been that way. I don't quite understand why. I'm trying to understand why I haven't felt more celebratory. And what I think,
I mean, her boyfriend's dead, and a lot of people think she did it, and her boyfriend's parents think she's did it. And there's still a lot of people out there who are probably going to try to throw her under the bus and get her arrested still, even after being acquitted. So you can argue, well, maybe that's why.
is that I lived with some very singular emotions: fright, anger, and anxiety. It was very intense. Every waking hour, I thought about my freedom and if I could lose it. And
Sure.
those feelings just don't disappear when a jury foreman says not guilty. I mean, there is, of course, relief, but I don't just wake up the next day and I'm living the life I lived 5 years ago. I felt my grief was being replaced with anger that was then driving this adrenaline. And I woke up every day with a real purpose, and I was appreciative that I was free to pursue this purpose. And then all of a sudden, the purpose is gone, thankfully, but I don't have a routine to go back to. It's not there anymore. I don't have a job. I don't have a home anymore. And I'm just kind of in no man's land. And I still have moments every day, very brief, like a nanosecond, where I think of something. I need to tell Liza Little this for this witness, or if God forbid I'm ever convicted, I need to make sure I tell my mother this, or it's over the feeling as soon as it starts. But there's definitely some synapses in my head that are still thinking trial hasn't happened yet. It's like when you get ready for the holidays and then you think,
I think I know what she's talking about. I feel like people feel that way about a lot of things, or even like the classic still having dreams about going to school, and you wake up and it's like, oh, I'm like 80 years old. Why am I dreaming about going to high school or going to middle school or going elementary school? Like, I don't have to go. Or like waking up and like, oh, I got to get ready for school. And it's like, you're literally like 50, 60, 70, 20, 30, whatever years old. And it's like, oh, I don't need to go to school. I think there's a lot of that. I think that still happens with people. So you can imagine constantly having those thoughts about, oh, I got to do court, got to do court stuff this, court stuff that. Is like, wait, that court's done. We won, question mark.
wait a minute, did Christmas already happen? It was all this anticipation, and then it's over in a couple hours and you unwrap presents, and it feels like that. Like I have to ask myself, it's over, right? It happened. I don't need to worry about this anymore. But there's this big void in my body and in my mind that, and physically, and what I was doing every day that I don't quite know how to fill. I just feel like a fish out of water. It's weird.
I mean, that's something I was going to ask. It's been like 6+ months since the acquittal. Obviously, you don't want to go back to trial, but every day you have to get dressed. You have a mission. There's urgency. Was there like a wave of emotions that hit you after the acquittal that maybe you were suppressing during the trial?
The acquittal feels like 3 years ago. When you say 6 months, it's like, oh my God, has it only been 6 months? I already feel like it's been many seasons and many things since then. I've had such an amazing network of support, more than anyone could ever ask for in this circumstance. Emotionally, when I needed to let things out, I had people around me that I could lean on. It was more physically that I didn't have the physical appetite. I didn't have the physical energy I had during trial. I've felt just kind of lackluster and just relaxed, but not this drive. Like I feel like I've lost some of this drive, and it feels like it was just a prolonged response to what the government did to me. That I've had these endorphins pushing me, getting me out of bed, keeping me up, working on witness prep during trial and motions in between trials, and then it just shuts off. It was like this supply I had that never ended for 4 years, and now it's gone. So I feel physically I'm paying for it now. Like I've got to relearn how to get a regimen and how to source energy and drive every day. Yeah. Maybe, hopefully not ever like it needed to be before June 18th, but some kind of even keel. I haven't found that yet.
Do you like wake up in the morning ever like, oh my God, I'm late to court, and then it's like, okay, I don't have trial. Like
I mean, then I feel like she just said that, didn't she? Like, she just said she had like the ideas of like, I have to tell this to my attorney or whatever, or I have to go tell this person that has to do with court. And I feel like wait, what happened to my model? I was like, oh, my model was like frozen in the spot there. Like, what the heck? But yeah, I feel like she just said that, question mark. Did she not? Also, I see the little, like what they're doing in the corners here. I don't know if you noticed. There's a thing at the beginning of the video that said sponsored by Morgan and Morgan, and they have Morgan and Morgan cups next to them as like little sponsor things in the video shot. So like when you look at Stephanie, it's on to the left. When you look at Karen, it's on the right. I was like, oh, I see what you're doing there. The sponsor shots there. Yeah, I feel like she just said that, didn't she? Question mark?
Free.
I think I would if I were living. I live with my parents most of the time, so I'm not in the environs that I was in during court. But if I stayed at the Marriott in the Seaport, the Residence Inn, I may feel that way. I do get those moments of something that I want to tell one of the lawyers. I want to remember, like, oh, these two.
Yeah, that's what she said.
I realize we don't need to know those dots connect anymore. We already addressed it. Thank God. I don't wake up thinking I've got to get to court. I wake up feeling very fortunate that I'm not court ordered to be anywhere anymore. It's very frightening to know you are court ordered. This is not a job or school where you should be there. It's best that you're there, but no one's going to come arrest you if you don't go. And this is 2 trials plus 100 pretrial hearings that I am court ordered. It doesn't matter how I feel physically or mentally. I have to be there, and I have to be there sharp because I'm a member of this team. So it's amazing waking up knowing no one is going to force me to be anywhere today.
Well, I think, again, another problem is I don't think they're done with her, question mark, right? I feel like they still want to come after her. I don't know how they can come after her, but I feel like all these cops, government officials still want to come after Karen unless the FBI is still investigating this and they're like, okay, wait, we actually know who did it. You know, when are they going to dig up that pool, huh? That cement pool. I need someone to dig that pool up. Don't think I've forgotten about that. Yeah, I feel like even John's parents, again, who have been brainwashed into thinking that Karen did it, will still try to come for Karen. So yeah, I don't know.
What did you do the first 24 hours, though, after the acquittal? Like, 24 hours, what was that like?
The first 24 hours.
What say? Is the defendant at the bar not guilty or guilty? Not guilty.
Taryn, what is life going to be like for you now?
I spent the whole ride back to the hotel. We were hearing from people at the hotel that the press and the neighborhood were already starting to gather in the parking lot. The hotel we stayed at was like a boutique-style residence inn.
I wonder if they're going to try to kick them out for causing too much commotion. Like, oh, you can't be here. There's too many people coming over here. I'd be worried about people trying to, like, get her, right? If they're like, oh, I don't like what happened. We're going to go get her ourselves, question mark.
A very lovely neighborhood in Seaport of Boston called Fort Point, and the local businesses, the restaurants. There was a residential building just across the street from us. It was almost the size of an alley, a very narrow street. And coincidentally, when I was in my 20s, I lived in that building. When we came back from the hotel, we tried to lose the press a few times, and I think we ended up going in a side alley door to the hotel. But I went to my room. David's room was below me, and I looked across the alley, and there were residents in the apartment building next door that had put congratulatory signs in their windows. Somebody put something with Yannetti's name. They must have known David, because it was only, well, I guess Alan was up in a corner as well, but it was a window directly. David was below me. It was right adjacent to David's room. But FKR or Congrats Yannetti. So there were people that we had met in the neighborhood that were congregating. A restaurant nearby, I had orchestrated with them. I didn't make any plans until I was acquitted because there's no way I was gonna set up any kind of dinner before I actually knew I was gonna need that dinner. So I called a restaurant in the Seaport. They gave us a private room. We had been there a few times during trial, and they were amazing. No one knew we were there. And it was my immediate family, my cousins who I'm particularly close to, and my legal team, and my local lawyers brought their families. And that was a very long 3-hour dinner. It was very overwhelming. My phone was blowing up. I wanted to decompress with my parents. I barely even got to speak to them, and the waiter's coming over and asking if I want to do a la carte desserts, and I'm like, I just really want to go back to the hotel and lay on my bed. We were getting requests for Good Morning America and the Today Show and People Magazine. It was all rushing. It was just flooding in, and I don't want to do any of this. I need a beat, and I need to figure out how I'm going to tackle all the media. I was very, very overwhelmed. We all went back to the hotel, all the families, my parents came back. Obviously all the lawyers were still in town. The following day, I think Liza might have been the first to leave. David was leaving, Bob was leaving. My parents left in the morning, and Alan and I said, I just want to have a day. He was leaving the second day, 2 days after the verdict, and we just walked around, went to our haunts that we ate at during trial, and it's like, I'm going to walk in with Alan and have a meal that I've never had with him without this albatross around my neck. I've never eaten a meal or had a bowl of chowder with any of these people as a free woman. And it was a really sunny, warm day, and I ran into someone that I used to work with at Fidelity that I hadn't seen in a long time. It was just, I felt like I was in a dream, though. I wouldn't say it was like the happiest day of my life. It still hadn't like hit me yet. It just felt surreal, and I felt.
Again, I still would be worried that they were going to try to do something like that, because didn't they take a picture of Karen and the guy she was just talking about going out with and like having a meal with? I'm pretty sure that's who she was talking about. They took like candid photos of them, trying to be like, hey, trying to prove like, oh, they're screwing around, like behind doors or something. And what, like, I don't even remember what they were trying to use that as, like a gotcha as. Like, I think he was hugging her. I don't remember exactly what the photo looked like, but maybe it was even like that day that she's talking about or some other things. I guess, I don't know if it was before or after the trial this happened, but again, still would be worried about stuff like that. I guess you just don't care. Like, you're free, right?
I felt sad. Like, so I'm gonna go back to the hotel, pack up my things, and then where do I go? And everyone else is going. My friends are gonna travel back and go back to work, and the lawyers are gonna go to other projects, and even my parents will go back to their routine, and my siblings. And it's just, where do I go? I was not planning with 100% certainty I would be here today. It's weird.
I mean, it's kind of is all alone, right? That's what you're getting at. Since boyfriend was murdered by the government, allegedly. Well, not allegedly. That's what you would assume is what happens. The government allegedly killed him, and by government, like the people who work for the government, the police, his police bodies, whatever. Her boyfriend's gone. The kids that she was taking care of, which are his kids, are gone, because I believe that John's brother took them, and I think even John's brother is on team Karen did it. So of course he would never let her see them again, I would assume, even if she even wants to see them. So yeah, John's gone. She's not going to see his kids again. Parents are going back to their lives. Everyone else is going back to their lives, like she's saying. Like, she's just all alone. But she's saying she's living with her parents now, right? So she has that, right?
To live a day that you never planned on. I never made a plan for June 19th or 20th or the 21st because I didn't want to jinx anything, and I didn't know that I'd be there. I didn't even book a dentist appointment. So it's all of a sudden now I've got nothing. And just very surreal is the best word I can think to describe it.
Is it like someone just comes and like shakes your snow globe and then leaves?
Yeah, and like, everything just settles, and it just gets like eerily quiet, like it does after a snowstorm.
Yeah.
Before the plows come through, it's just dark and silent, and it's still like feels like that. It's getting, I'm starting to feel my way around, like defining what my life is going to be, but it's getting easier. But I do feel I've had this delayed reaction to the persecution, not delayed reaction to the acquittal. I'm finally like reacting to this horrible thing that happened to me, and I had to swallow and roll with it, and now I'm digesting it. Like I swallowed something horrible, and it's just sat in my body, and now I'm finally breaking it down. I feel like I'm having to address things that I swept under the carpet. Like emotionally, it's your body kicks into this fight or flight, and my body is very good. My mind is very good at kicking into fight. I work very well under stress and pressure, and it got even better. That characteristic got refined during the last 4 years. But you can't do that to your body and to your mind without paying the piper eventually. And I feel like I've had to do that.
Have you ever like dealt with depression during the trial, even now?
No,
No, I was gonna say no. Wouldn't it be yes? I noticed something. I don't know if it really matters or not. Like, was John like trying to marry Karen or something like that? Like, were they engaged? I don't think they were engaged, right? 'Cause she does have a ring, I noticed, on her left ring finger. But I'm guessing maybe that's just for fashion reasons, or it could be sentimental. Like I was saying, like maybe John was going to marry her, they were engaged or something, or he gave her a ring or something. That's just something I noticed. I don't think it really matters. It's just something I was looking at, because she keeps playing with her rings on her hands, so it's hard not to notice.
I've never really dealt with it ever. I don't know if it's depression or if it's like PTSD. But no, I didn't feel, I was angry most of the time. Angry, and I felt very lucky that it's a disservice to the people around me who are the most amazing people anyone could ask for. And I'm not inclined to depression, so I'm not surprised.
Also, the photo that I was talking about earlier was photoshopped. Because I don't remember if they talked about it being photoshopped or not in the video. Because I don't know if they did or not. I just know like they were trying to use it as like a gotcha on Karen, but I don't know if they ever mentioned it was photoshopped in Stephanie's video originally. So maybe they did. So yeah, I didn't think it was of anything anyways. Also, hello, Koei. Were we in? We're like 16 minutes in. I did try to like wait an extra minute or two at the beginning, but it's fine. I mean, I'm going for like 20 minutes, 21 minutes, and we're 16 minutes in, 17 minutes in the video.
Surprised. I mean, I went through a normal grieving process, but I didn't feel down that I had to sell my house and everything in it that I curated myself. I felt, you know, and I had a conversation with Alan that don't look at it as, you know, the government is robbing you of this. Like they're using your taxes to prosecute you, and you're having to go through every asset and liquidate it. Look at it as an investment you made before you ever knew you'd be in this situation, and now it's paying off when you need it. And you're going to use this house to save your life. And you know, I get a lot of words of wisdom, but they don't all resonate, and that did. But I think I really just feel that I've been running on endorphins that are now the spigot just shut off, and I've got to inspire myself in ways like everybody else wakes up. And I look at everyone around me like, get up and live lives and find inspiration, or physically and mentally. And I just have to do that like a normal person now, like retrain it.
Yeah. There's actually some people, perhaps a lot of people out there that think you are sitting on a beach, you are cashing in on a book deal, a documentary deal. Like they think that you are good, you're set, you're enjoying.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is allegedly her first interview in 6 months. So you think she would be doing this? Wouldn't be her first one if she was trying to cash in on all that publicity or whatever. I know allegedly is living with her parents, so
Enjoying your life. Is that what it really is like?
So we have announced that we're working with a publisher. This is Luke Janklow, and
because she is doing this stuff
in Los Angeles. That's Julie Orn on the movie and TV side of things. So I've only announced that I have agents and I have these producers helping me to sell this. I have made nothing on the documentary. In fact, I lost trying to fight for a piece of the proceeds from the documentary. I went into the documentary thinking that there was this Son of Sam law in Massachusetts, which prevents defendants from profiting. You know, you can't commit a crime and then write a book from prison and send your kids to college on the back of this crime. There is no Son of Sam law in Massachusetts, which we found out in the middle of making this deal with the documentaries, which was great. So I can get paid at any point in this legal process, even if I were convicted. We were not paid. I was not paid. No member of my team was paid anything from the documentary. It was very legally involved. I believe I was misled and taken advantage of, and we gave the documentarian our all. I did not see the documentary. I watched the end of the final episode. I don't know if there were 4 or 5. Several people told me there was a nice moment with David and me at the end of the last episode, so I did watch that, and I liked it. And then I watched Dave and I said goodbye at the hotel, and then the documentary ended with me in my basement at the house I no longer live in, with all the legal boxes, because the documentary ended at the mistrial. So I think she was trying to show, here I am just back, stuck at go again with our paper shredder and our printers, and I think I was like vacuuming the floor, and I was like, all right, I've seen enough. People close to me who watched the documentary said, based on what I had predicted it would be, it was not that. And I thought, this documentary experience has not been fun. It was incredibly...
Okay, so she's saying that she got kind of screwed over from this documentary, ? Okay, and yeah, they weren't engaged. They were considering to be married, but weren't engaged.
invasive, which I knew it would be, but we still gave them more access than they could have ever hoped for. And
But yeah, I didn't know there was even a documentary on Karen Reed, but I guess it makes sense, right? Why wouldn't there be?
she, the documentarian, I feel went out of her way to excise us from enjoying not one dime of the proceeds. And based on what little I saw and what I've heard of the product, I don't need your money. You know what you did. You know what we gave you every day. My family, you were in our living quarters. You were in the SUV with us every day. You know what we gave you, and you know what kind of story you had from us, and you used us. You know you did. And I wish just never to cross paths with you again.
I feel like I need context on this documentary. She's being very coy about just being upset. I mean, maybe it's not that coy, but being slightly coy and not just going scorched earth on like talking bad about these people. She's like, I just hope we never cross paths again, right? That's not. She could just be like, I hate you, you horrible people. You screwed me over. You wrote a hit piece on me? ? You ruining my life, blah 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 blah. She's just like, I don't want to cross your path anymore.
I will tell my story with more control. We don't have a book deal. I think Alan and I will be co-authors on a book. There will be no book written by someone, even with just some creative input by me. It will be written by probably 3 people, a professional, and then Alan and I will be helping to tell the story. So I want this to be a story about corruption. I want to have some impact on the state where I've lived most of my life and where my family's from and where we battled this. I want to make an impact on what people think about politics, about the government, about the dangers of a one-party political system, which is what Massachusetts is. It's not about liberal or conservative. It's about being one party from the founding of that government with no competition, no checks and balances. It becomes almost anarchy, like it is now. We've got a district attorney who has a war chest despite not having any opposition. It's dangerous, and I believe that is why I got where I was and why I got into this position, and why until it changes, there will be other Karen Reeds. You may not hear about them. Mm-hmm. These stories, Sandra Birchmore, it's getting exposed. Other people are exposing it as well. That's what this story will be. Okay. And if I have to write it myself, then I'll write it myself.
Even on that note, I do feel like I've heard a lot about you. I've heard a lot of clips of you. I've watched the whole documentary series, Body in the Snow, and I feel like you're very different from that. You know, the way that you're presented in the documentary and then versus like when you walked in.
I've gotten very good, and I was not good at this in my prior life. I've gotten very good at controlling what I let upset me, because so much has been taken from my control with a judge, with a district attorney, with the state police. I've been arrested. I've had my home 2 years later searched for electronics. Once someone comes in your home, you have no safe place anywhere. They've been in my parents' home. They've been in my house 3 times. So I've had to learn to control what I can control, which means not falling down a rabbit hole on Twitter, not reading comments on a video on YouTube. Sure. And I knew I had an idea where this documentary was going before it came out. We ended. Yeah,
because it's called The Body in the Snow. But Stephanie had said that. The Trial of Karen Reed. Where is this at? I don't see a Netflix symbol, so it's definitely not on Netflix, right?
The relationship with Terry, the documentarian, on a very bad note. Over money, of course. I had former students from Bentley. I had former colleagues. I had friends that traveled on their dime to interview for this documentary. These are people who knew me in all sorts of facets of life that I was then told those interviews didn't make it in.
They didn't make it in, yeah.
But John's sister-in-law, who, to the best of my knowledge, and to everyone's knowledge, I would guess, knows they didn't have the tightest relationship. Or a friend of his, there's been 2 friends of his I have never met. I was with John nearly every day for 2 years. I had dated him 20 years before that. And there's some guy and an old girlfriend who I never met. This is the closest you could find to John, people who never saw John and me interact. And yet I gave you friends, I gave you people from my parish, students, colleagues, and none of it made it in. So when the documentary came out, and I can't even remember when that was, I
wasn't just a case of just sensational stuff. This is just going to sell better. They're just trying to make money, right? So they're just going to print whatever they think is going to make them the most money, even if it's crazy or not true or demonizing her? ? I have no context on what's actually being said in this documentary. So I'm just assuming that's what it's doing.
I made a concerted effort. I will not watch that. What is the point to get upset? Because I know what didn't make it in. And people come up to me all the time that I saw the documentary. It was, wow, what a story it told. And I can't believe what you went through. But my family and friends that saw it, no one's raved about it because they don't feel it portrayed me. But I'm not surprised. I was cast in a light that is not realistic.
Yeah.
Disclaimer: Karen is in the middle of multiple pending civil lawsuits, and has been advised to minimize any comments made about certain topics or people. So that was saying, like, they can still come after her. I don't know if it's her after someone else or her after other people, but assuming they still are trying to throw her under the bus. In her criminal trials, anything she said could have been used against her, and that will probably be the case with her civil cases. So with that, we were limited in the topics we could cover with her to not put any pending litigation at risk. We hope you understand that we really wanted to ask her how someone could do certain things, maybe is what they meant to put there. So obviously it's not that, right? This is just misspelling there that they forgot to fix. Testify in such a manner, etc. We were unable to. We hope to sit down with her again once she can speak more freely. The only question being how? Was it how? Ask her how someone could do that. How did they misspell how twice? Stephanie, how did you do it twice? I swear to God, this is not. That's not. It says asked her how someone could do certain things, and the only question being how long till then. Like, what the heck? Anyways, yeah, of course, I was assuming that they're still coming after her, I'm guessing. I don't know what the other lawsuits counted as, but is the civil stuff just more attempts? Okay, we lost these trials, let's just try the civil court now. Oh yeah, the thing when she... Okay, that makes more sense that it was talking about the thing when they were saying, oh, were the thing Karen was looking that up on Google, or was it like her friends when, like, around the time that he was out in the cold, I'm guessing. I forgot who searched that up, like how's long to die in the cold. Like, funny, but I feel like if people don't remember that, or okay, so Jen was the one who was looking up how long to die in the cold. Yeah, like I remember it now, but like I've completely forgot that was a thing that happened. So I was like, why is this going on? Sitting there for so long, but that was a lot of paragraphs for people to read. That's why.
On Karen Reed's case. I mean, that's over like 10 hours long. Just with the sheer amount of people that were involved, we did have to resort to coming up with nicknames or monikers, some of our own creation, some that we've adopted from social media discourse. And out of just pure habit and pure personal style, I might still be referring to some of these people with that nickname. We called Brian Higgins, Brian Haha Higgins, Michael Proctor, Michael No Nudes Proctor. That was literally just so people could have an idea of who we're talking about when we mention a name. If I do that, that is not Karen poking fun at anyone. I honestly should probably prefer that I don't use these nicknames, but I probably will throughout this episode. And on top of that, another disclaimer is Karen is right now involved in multiple civil lawsuits involving a ton of different people. So there might be some questions that she cannot answer legally, and that's just for legal purposes. So with that being said, what do you think happened to John O'Keefe?
John O'Keefe entered the garage or the house at 34 Fairview, and much sooner than later, met his demise. Based on his injuries, it looks to me like he got into a fight and fell backwards. There was not a single pathologist in either trial that didn't say the mortal wound came from falling backwards and hitting his head. That was agreed on. He had bruises on his hands. The prosecution tried to say that those came from IVs, but I've had many IVs. I've had them in my hands. My hands never looked like that. But I dropped him off. He went up to the breezeway, and 6 a.m., I find him in a heap, missing his hat, missing his shoe, and laying there with a piece of glass in his face. So someone in that house killed John O'Keefe.
Karen Reed found John O'Keefe's body on January 29th, 2022 at approximately 6 a.m.
The Alberts have stated that they were asleep. And there's footage of you. There's body cam footage of you, like, screaming, dash cam footage. How loud were you screaming? Because there's all these comments about, oh, the wind, the blizzard.
I've done research, and my understanding is that the snow can muffle sounds.
Sure.
I don't need to wonder if Brian Albert and Nicole Albert were awake. according to the Commonwealth's own witness, mine as well, but theirs as well, Ian Whiffen, Nicole Albert at 5 a.m. has an answered phone call from Jen McCabe. Answered and deleted. Furthermore, Nicole Albert at 6:07 a.m. and 6:08 a.m. has 2 more phone calls, each lasting about 7 seconds, from Jen McCabe, answered and deleted. This is not conjecture. This is not my theory. This is in the data. Pour over my phone records. By the way, I had no deleted calls, no deleted Google searches. I actually didn't have any Google searches at all. But I know from the data, according to the data, unless the data is wrong, and this is Celebrite was just used to help convict Brian Walsh of murdering his wife. The same Celebrite used by law enforcement globally is telling me that Nicole Albert's phone answered a call from her sister at 5 a.m. and then 2 more at 6 a.m. So that would lead me to assume that Nicole Albert was awake.
Yeah, we're just saying that Karen found John at 6, so...
Have you guys ever tried to recreate the quote-unquote butt dials?
No, because it's not possible. It's not possible. I have called people, and we jokingly, my friends and I, and my family and I, we say butt dial when we mean, like, I may be scrolling through my call log, and I accidentally activate that name and it calls. Or someone sent me their number on Instagram, and I went to press it down and copy it so then I could save it in my contacts, and it called them. And then I'll...
How easy is it to quote-unquote butt dial somebody with modern phones, you know, with lock screens and whatnot? I mean, obviously it happens, question mark, but it's, I feel like it's an archaic term that doesn't necessarily work too well with modern phones. I mean, of course, again, like I said, you can do it. Like, you have your phone out, you don't turn the screen off, you put it into your pocket, your hand somehow brush some numbers and it turns on, right? Or maybe if it just somehow activates in your pocket. But I think it's more for when we had cell phones that had number pads on them and it would just somehow dial numbers that way. I don't know, right? So I forget what that was used for in the trial. Like, oh, it was a butt dial, but again, I feel like obviously it's just like that didn't happen, question mark.
Say haha butt dial.
Yeah.
But it wasn't an actual accidental phone call made while the phone was completely inert. That's what they're saying butt dials are. Even if you're able to inadvertently make a phone call, they're all doing it in the middle of the night. All of them. Higgins is saying he made a butt dial. Brian Albert is saying it was a butt dial.
Okay, so that's what we're using this for. Like, all these calls around this time are just magically calls that were made not on purpose.
Well, it's kind of like a butt dial.
I believe I used the word butt dials.
Well, I used a phrase that people commonly used as a butt dial.
How many did we see this in the actual videos? Did they really say it that many times?
Not just a butt dial, but a butt answer and a butt hang up on both ends. So you're saying you accidentally called him, he accidentally answered, he accidentally hung up, and then you accidentally hung up. Jen McCabe said the slew of phone calls to John at 1:15, between 12:30 and 1 o'clock, she had over a dozen phone calls to John. She's claiming those were all butt dials. What are the chances these people who were together all night are engaging in, if you count them, somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 butt phone actions? Answering, dialing, hanging up. They, meaning the Alberts, McCabes, and Higgins, appear to have kept it simple and agreed to several mantras, and just those mantras. One of them was butt dials, and the other, I don't recall, or not that I recall.
Oh yeah, I was like, I know there was more than that. It's just like, I don't recall. Like, it's everything. Like, it's a shame that it's been so long since we watched the original stuff, so I don't remember all like the goops and gaffes of the trial. But what was like the thing? You know, objection, sustained. Like every other word, objection, sustained, objection, sustained. Like, that's one of them.
Call.
I don't remember.
I don't recall.
I don't remember. I don't recall my interview.
I don't recall.
I do not recall having.
I don't recall.
I don't remember.
I don't remember if I was tired.
If they were coached, it was smart. Keep it simple. Because when they start to add details to their renditions of what happened that night, they're completely inconsistent. Brian Higgins said his Jeep was parked in front of the house. He backed it up, he had a plow, he went into great detail, and he jokingly plowed some snow for Brian and Nicole to pull in, and then Matt and Jen, and then he V'd out and pulled in front of the house by the mailbox. Yet Jen McCabe didn't see the car, and she was apparently on night watch at the front door and never saw a Jeep with a plow, which is something memorable. Ryan Nagel, Ricky D'Antonio, and Heather Maxson were behind me. They never saw the Jeep. So my point being, their group thought is simple, but as soon as you require details from these people, their stories are all over the place.
Do you think Chloe, the Albert's German Shepherd, is still alive?
This is
No. It's in that freaking cemented pool. It's in the pool. Look, get in that pool. Dig that pool up. Get a lot of money. Order that pool to be dug up.
the question I get asked the most is what happened to the dog? And I realize I do not have a dog. I realize this is where society is a lot of us love dogs more than we love people or just as much. But I get this answer, this question constantly. I have no idea what happened to Chloe. Based on what I know, I would guess the dog is dead. I don't believe it's the dog they claim it is up in New Hampshire. We asked for proof, and all they gave was animal control vaccination records that I can literally go to animal control and get a copy of the vaccination records. And this woman in New Hampshire, who we have no address, no phone call, no phone number for, she's claiming this is the dog, this was his birthday, and this is his vaccination. Well, anybody can get that.
At what point in the investigation did you feel like, okay, this is not an investigation into a tragic accident? I'm being framed. Like, what is there a specific moment it hits you?
So they had my phone in my car within a half hour of coming to my parents' house. So they left my parents at 4:15 on January 29th. They took my phone and they took the car. I was hoping desperately, this is a case of they've got the wrong guy. Yeah. I'm arrested on February 1st.
John O'Keefe was found dead on the morning of January 29th, 2022. Ken Reed's first arrest happened on February 1st, 2022. So a few days later. Instantly, essentially.
I spend the night in a holding cell, and then I'm arraigned the next morning. I hadn't met in person David Yannetti, but I'd already engaged with him on January 29th. He comes to the holding cell at the courthouse in Stoughton, and he has one copy of the police report that Michael Proctor authored. He's holding the police report. Now, they're already calling my case at 9 a.m. It's like 9:10, and I don't know what I'm walking into. I don't know what they have against me. I don't know anything. David is holding the police report, and we're reading it together. They only gave him one copy. So his hands between the bars, I'm leaning in, and we're reading it quick. I don't know how I had the focus to even comprehend and read at that moment. It was like just another fight or flight. That the focus turned. This is about to be read in front of a courtroom filled with people. The first thing that stood out to me was, it said they arrived at my parents' house, Proctor and Buchnick, arrived at my parents' house at 4:30 p.m. and left at 5:30 p.m. And I knew right away that was wrong. I've lived in New England most of my life. 5:30 in the middle of January is pitch black outside. 4:30 p.m. is almost pitch black outside. And I knew when they left my house, my parents' house, it was still somewhat light outside because I remember watching the flatbed with my truck go by the front window. I knew they had gotten to the house around 3 o'clock, and I knew they weren't there for 2.5 hours. So I thought, well, maybe this is how police reports are written initially in a cursory fashion, that they're approximate times, and then we can tighten timelines later. But that always bothered me. And then every affidavit that was accompanying every seizure of evidence after that kept saying the same thing, that on January 29th, we went to the house in Dighton at 4:30, we left at 5:30. So that was the first time I thought, all right, we're dealing with very sloppy, imprecise police. That was my first inkling that this isn't completely ticked and tied. After I was released from the arraignment on February 2nd, that evening...
Is this like when they were trying to like screw up the times on purpose? Question mark, allegedly, because they had they had someone's car, right? And they were doing. I think they had Karen's car, and we were assuming that they were breaking her tail light? Question mark, to make it the excuse of her running John over, right? Because there's like a portion of their video footage cut, and it was reversed, and the only way it could be reversed is someone did that in post, right? So it was reversed and cut, so it looks like they're not by the right tail light, but they actually are by the right tail light, which will allow them to, break it and make it look like, whatever they want. They're framing her, right? And that had to do with some like weird timing things where, they couldn't be here because they were here or whatever.
David Yannetti called me and said he had gotten an anonymous phone call from someone saying, you need to pay attention to who lives in the house. I had not even thought about the Alberts. I not one way or the other, just that I knew that was their house and they had been with us the night before, and I had met them for the first time a week before that. So it was very early on. I've been lucky that very early on and at regular intervals since, I have been given gifts of information that helped buoy me. Yeah. I can't tell you, hearing that information from David, and so of course, as soon as David says, this anonymous caller says, look at the owner of the house, I start Googling Brian Albert. And it's within seconds, I find a Google video of him in a boxing ring beating people up. And he looks, I've met him, but I haven't paid much attention to him, but he sounds gruff, and he's walking into some drug bust with some kind of shield and weapons, and he looked like a tough, mean guy. Mind you, though, at this time, I didn't know John's injuries in detail. When I found him, he had a cut on his nose on his left side, and he had a cut above his right eye. He had blood coming out of his nose, and his eyes were like eggs. But I didn't know if he had broken ribs or his femur was sticking out of his body. I mean, it didn't seem to be, but I didn't know if he had internal bleeding. I didn't know until I saw the hospital photos in May how obvious it was that this body was not hit by a car or anything like a car, and this body looks like it was beaten up. So it was every couple months. So we got that tip. We didn't get much. March and April of 2022 were very tough.
I don't think we ever got confirmation on who that tip was, because someone tried to tip off her lawyer to something like, hey, you need to be wary of so-and-so, and then they just vanished. Like, I think they were actually going to try to do more, but then they were just like, they just bailed. Or they said something, and then they just left. And I don't think we ever found out who that was.
John was in my life so much, so thickly, and then he wasn't anymore. It was the only relationship I've had, and I've had many that, and I'm 45, and I've been dating since I was a teenager, that ended with such finality. I can't call him when I'm out in Boston at 1 a.m. when the bar closes like I did when I was in my 20s.
You could be worried that that might be something you would do, like oh, I wish John was here, so let me call John. Like, oh wait, this is all like a trial to prove that I didn't kill John. It's like, oh yeah, he's not here because this whole thing is about him. Or even after everything's over, it's like, oh yeah, we made it through it. Let me call John and tell him I got through the trial, like I was acquitted. And it's like, oh wait, there might just be something that pops in your mind, like, oh wait, he's, this was because he's gone, ? So like, how many times is he popping up and she has to be like, oh wait, he's not here anymore.
I can't miss him in a few weeks and say, just thinking of you, or can I drop by and see you? I've never been forced to deal with such finality. I've never had a death that close to me. So March and April were difficult. There just wasn't anything going on. We weren't getting any police reports. I still didn't know what they were using to charge me. And it was in May that they finally released the photos that were taken of him at the hospital, and then the autopsy, with two different events. And it was very obvious to me, this is not what they're claiming. There's a cracked taillight on my car, and John is pristine from the neck down, with the exception of his right arm. And coupling that, and David continued to get this anonymous tip to look at Ryan Albert. Coupling those together, it gave me hope that I may be able to figure out what happened.
We saw the footage of the second arrest, which was probably one of the more shocking pieces of footage connected to your case. You had no idea that they were coming, because you're just in short pajamas and you're begging to change before they take you in. And then eventually they mock you because you beg to change. And they're like, look at how much she cares about being on TV. Have you seen the footage?
I have seen stills of it, but I've steered clear. It is very difficult for me. And I've warned my parents not to. I think my dad just watches everything, but I've warned them not to.
I'm being charged with second-degree murder now? That's right. I have no idea what this is about now.
It's about the same exact incident, okay? Where's the medication?
Can I use the ladies' room?
I understand. We're going to get
Call your parents and they can come over and retrieve any item you need at once.
Yep.
I can't put...
Hold on. What about the shoe wear? What kind of footwear do you wear?
Anything, but can I... I don't even have underwear. Can I put pants on?
Again, your parents can come over here and retrieve anything.
We'll get that medication.
Oh, this guy on the left, he was in the trial. It was like one of the bad guys. Is that no nudes? On the left there? I can't tell. Is that no nudes?
Can I put pants on, please?
Can you just step over the side, please?
Where are your pants?
At the foot of my bed. Can I take a pair of sheets?
We'll get those. And in the meantime, let's follow this group right here, all right?
Where can I put my pants on?
At the barracks.
Can I put them on before I go out of my house, please?
That's not part of our procedure. Once
Can I put pajamas?
you have a chance to change.
Do the barracks.
Have a seat there for me. Then you gotta put that floor, like double lock. Just like she's not concerned with this on TV.
Yeah. It's talking trash, but again, I think this is no nudes Proctor, right? So it's just he was talking trash about her in text messages, right? All the time. And then of course, the whole no nudes thing. Who was the no nudes for? Was that a completely different case that they just brought up, that, or was it this case? Like, were they looking for nudes of Karen? ? Or that they were just like mentioning that from a different case, that he just happened to be looking for nudes and talking to his friend, his cop buddies, about like, oh, there's no nudes or whatever. ? Yeah, like, do y'all have to? Y'all are on camera still right now. Like, hello. Like, what are you doing?
I'm still recording, just so you know. Okay.
I have seen the footage.
Oh, Now you need to tell them that you're still recording. Like, you already recorded all that trash talking, saying she's crazy, and making fun of her. Like, hello? A little late for that. To tell them to shut up.
From my own backyard camera after I was arrested the first time, and once I started to figure out what was happening, I was frightened. I was frightened about who was on the other side, who was on the law enforcement side that is trying to pin this on me, and who killed John that could be in my backyard right now. Yeah. And then I learned about Sandra Birchmore. I did worry. I live alone. I'm like a sitting duck.
Oh yeah, Sandra, that was the one where it seemed like a cop. I don't know which cop that was. I think he killed Sandra, right, and got away with it? Question mark, or did he not get away with it? Because this was so long ago, I've already forgotten about that. But yeah, that was another case similar to this, with kind of like similar themes.
Will I be hanging from a doorknob in my house? And they could easily explain it as guilt, depression over what had happened, and she just gave up. So the first 6 months of 2022 were difficult. I had not even been explained to the concept of an upcharge. My understanding was you get indicted on what you were charged for. I didn't realize that the district attorney can present anything he wants to the grand jury, and they can charge me with anything. They could have charged me with also breaking into the Albert's house and stealing their TV set while I was parked outside. I didn't realize that, and shame on me that I didn't learn that. I was trying to learn as much as I could. During these months, I was reading a book every couple of days just about the criminal justice system and defending yourself and how this works. But June 9th, I was home alone, like I was most days. I would do yard work. I'd put headphones in. I'd wait for one of the lawyers to call. I had been mowing the lawn. I hadn't showered yet. I was wearing boxers, and I actually just had a tank top on. I didn't have any underwear on. And I came in from doing yard work, and I decided I was going to cook for myself. I mean, this was my catharsis. I would go outside. I tried to get sun. I did a lot of, ask my neighbors. I was out in my yard every day just trying to sweat, at least physically tire myself out so I could sleep at night. And I was cooking. I was trying to eat well. So I was making a pot of chili. I was finishing everything up. I had music on, and all of a sudden I hear voices. And I lower the music, I go to the front door, and my windows are open, my storm door is closed, but the screen is up, and I heard a voice say, "Let's do this in the back, there's cameras out front." I had a very clear, it wasn't a Ring doorbell, it was a higher end private security system, but there was...
Okay, that's a statement and a half, question mark. Did any of her cameras pick that up, though, them saying that? And we can't confirm or deny that if nothing else picked it up other than her saying that was picked up. Maybe their camera, their body cams would too, but they probably didn't have them turned on until they got into position where they wanted to be. And then that one guy didn't turn his thing off in time for them to talk all that trash either, so kind of, well, they're already being unprofessional, but him, like if he's trying to scheme and keep things under wraps, he didn't turn his camera off fast enough.
Very visible camera over the front door, but I also had them 360 around my whole property. So I heard that voice, "Let's do this around back, there's cameras out here." I see two cops. I couldn't make out who they were, but I could see them walking around by the garage of my property, which kind of requires you to go down into the driveway.
What is with the speed? I know this is increased by 1.5, but why is he in such a rush? It's just a 45-year-old lady. Like, what are you running for? We're back on normal speed just to see how fast he's actually running. Like, what are you doing? It's like a brisk jog, but it's like, why just walk? What is he? Why is he walking like that? Okay, we're back on 1.5, and just to scroll down, just to talk about this. I just noticed it. You can't see it, but the speed here, we have we have 4 times speed now on YouTube. I guess you have to pay for premium for that, but if you're a psychopath and you want to watch something at 4 times speed and you pay for premium, you can do that.
House and then up a hill into my backyard. So I start shaking. I look out a window. I see there's a Mansfield, the town I lived in, Mansfield, Massachusetts, cruiser, and then I think 2 unmarked cars. Maybe there was a third.
Is it Proctor on the right there? Oh, you can't see him. I'm in the way there. Right there, is that him?
And I thought that something's happening. The first person I see, now I'm looking out the back window, I'm reaching for my cell phone. I see Michael Proctor in plain clothes, walking by himself.
Okay, it was Proctor. I couldn't tell if that was him or not, but yeah, it is No Nudes Proctor.
Now, he's soon to be followed by Buchnick and another state trooper, I believe, and a Mansfield cop. I think the state police have to call in local assist whenever they're in a different jurisdiction.
Oh, she's out back.
Outside? Yeah. There's somebody in the house. Yeah.
For a split second, I thought Michael Proctor was there to hurt me. I had no idea. Why is he here? Why is he in plain clothes? Why is he at my back door? Which is almost...
Yeah, he does look weird. He has his badge on him. I did notice he has his badge clipped to his like belt, but he's in like just a shirt and pants.
In the woods. There's no inviting path to my back door. You'd have no reason to go looking for my back door. I called David Yannetti, and it's just like a dream where you just can't dial the number, or you're trying to text and you can't get the text right. And it's like that in real life. Like your hands are shaking, and I think I dialed his number like 3 or 4 times before I finally was able to dial it correctly. And I said, David, Proctor's here, there's police here. I don't know what they're doing. And I can't remember if David told me that he had just gotten a phone call that I was indicted, or if he guessed they may have just indicted you. I knew that they were close to, I was hearing through the grapevine that people were testifying. So I can't remember exactly what David said to me. I think I either called my dad, and I said, Daddy, I think I'm getting arrested again. And my poor dad, I know that was one of the worst moments of this whole thing, because we were just completely...
Yeah, I mean, that's of course fine. I mean, this is obviously late here too, but yeah. See you later, Alex.
Bewildered. What now? So I take the phone. It's still dialed in. I'm connected to David.
I'm in my pajamas. I don't even have shoes on. I'm being charged with second-degree murder now?
That's correct. Concealed homicide and leaving the scene causing death and bodily injury.
I walk outside. One of the first things that happens, Proctor's reading me. He's reading me my rights, and he's telling me that I've been charged with murder. And Buchnick, in the middle of all this, I'm on sensory overload, but I'm trying to absorb what's going on. Buchnick takes my cell phone and goes, I'll be taking that. And he puts the cell phone, still connected to David Yannetti, in his pocket. There is no search.
Okay. Is he allowed to do that? Question mark? To just confiscate your personal belongings like that? I guess so. You mean when cops arrest you, they don't allow you to call anyone? I feel like a lot of times, like, can I call my mom? Can I call X? Can I call Y? And they're like, no. And I guess it's because they've taken your phone away from you. Like, they don't want you to have contact with anything? Question mark. But still, it still feels weird, and I don't know. I just want to see that again.
I'm on sensory overload, but I'm trying to absorb what's going on. Buchnick takes
Him just yoinking the phone out of her hands.
And he puts the cell phone, still connected to David Yannetti, in his pocket. There is no search warrant for that phone. That is not the phone I had on January 29th. They already have that phone. So they did, for some period of time, have my replacement cell phone, and who knows what they did with it. I know when they took it, there was an active line open to David Yannetti. So I know when Buchnick took the phone, there was at least an open line. So while Proctor's reading this to me, the indictment and my rights, he starts pinning my arms behind my back, and I'm trying to move away from him because I still don't understand. I've done everything. I've shown up at every hearing. I'm at my house. I haven't broken the law. I haven't driven. Why am I being arrested? I did hear the word murder, so there's gears grinding in my head that something's gotten worse here. So he's trying to pin my arms and cuff me, and I'm trying to move away from him. And at the same time, I'm saying to him, I haven't heard the tape, but my recollection is I'm saying to him, can I please have some clothes? I'm not even wearing underwear. Yeah. I've had a colostomy bag at 4 different periods in my life, so leaving anywhere without pants or underwear or certain materials that I need is of the utmost embarrassment. And
yeah, because he was already, talking trash about her because of her medical condition that she has. So this is what she's talking about. She has a medical condition, and Proctor himself was talking trash about her because of that. Was he saying she's hot though, or something like that? Isn't that what he was looking for, nudes or something? I don't remember. But then continues to go on and talk about like her disease and how gross she is, or something like that. So yeah, they're just not being nice about her condition, which might have been on purpose, because he would have known about it by now, right? Because he already calling her crazy, like he knows her somehow. So I feel like he already knows all that stuff.
Proctor knows this. He said...
Yeah, he knows it.
I did see a clip of him saying she's worried... Because I think it's on TV.
Yes.
He said she's worried what she looks like for the cameras. All she can think about is the cameras.
He says, you see how crazy she is. She is more concerned about how she looks on TV.
See how crazy she is? She's more concerned what she looks like on TV. Yeah.
More of Proctor misrepresenting everything, including that. First of all, the only reason cameras were there is because the district attorney or the state police called cameras. I arrived at the state police barracks an hour later, and they were all there. I was escorted from the barracks the next morning for my arraignment, and they were all there. And they were all at the courthouse. So the only reason cameras are involved is because you're parading me and trying to make a case out of this. You're trying to show me looking this way like a criminal, and that's why you called the cameras in. But I should be allowed to put pants on or shoes. So Buchnick goes into my house. I see him on my own home surveillance system. He's in my house for about 10 minutes. I told him where my closet was, where the room was. I have a bunch of suits. I was a professional wearing suits and professional.
Okay, so is she about to say that? Well, I'm guessing she has cameras in the house too, which I don't know how many people have like cameras in the house, but like how many people do that? Like, does anyone have cameras in their house who's watching this? Since I feel like it would be weird to have cameras in there. So you do see like not body cams, like ring footage on YouTube of people's houses sometimes. If you're watching like a compilation or something like that, I feel like it'd be weird because, you know, who knows what you might be walking around in at one point, what you might be doing, getting up to, question mark, you know, husband, wife, whatever, couples, extracurricular activities that might be seen in said cameras, which you assume that no one's ever going to get to see what's on those cameras, which is why you wouldn't be worried. You'd rather be safe than care about someone accidentally seeing your extracurricular activities on your Ring cameras. But I feel like people hacking into those things isn't that uncommon. Maybe it is uncommon. I don't know. I feel like you can hack into those, and then they just got free footage of your entire life. Question mark. Yeah, I'm guessing she has cameras in her house, and she's going to tell us he's just snooping in her house, maybe trying to plant stuff or just steal stuff. I don't know.
Professional attire. Closet was, where the room was. I have a bunch of suits. I was a professional wearing suits and professional attire my whole career. I have a closet filled with these clothes, and I directed him to that closet. He instead goes to the barracks with a pair of flip-flops. I don't know where he found them from. My Havaianas that I wear to the beach, and ripped jeans that I had just taken off from mowing my lawn. They had holes. They didn't cover my ankles. I would never.
I thought those were like pants she was actually gonna wear. I was like, oh, she got some stylish pants. I was like, oh, okay, I guess she thinks they're trash. Oof. I mean, my favorite pair of pants are ripped blue jeans. So, oof. Oof, Karen. You didn't have to do me like that. Like, was it necessary? Like you just had to kill me? Like, hello? But yeah, when I saw the jeans earlier, I was like, oh, those are some nice pants, Karen. Like, oof. The flip-flops, are those even an upgrade to the like slippers that she had? I would assume the slippers she was already wearing would be more comfortable than some flip-flops. Right? Some chanclas, depending on who's watching, how you want to say it. Some thongs, which is weird that they're called thongs. We have thongs, sandals, chanclas.
Wear these jeans, the grass stains.
All right, here's all our medication and shoe wear for the shoe wants. No, I'm gonna turn off my camera here.
I can't remember if they gave me the clothes to wear that night in the cell or if he gave them to me before I went to court in the morning. A girlfriend of mine came to the barracks in the middle of the night with court clothes, with black pants, a black top, and black shoes. And they would not allow me to put those clothes on for court. So I heard her come in. I was in a cell. And she said, can I give these for Karen for the morning? And they said something to her like, we can't guarantee that, but we'll take them. They gave them to me at some point.
They could just search them if they're like worried about like some sort of weird stuff in them. Like just search the clothes.
The next day, they didn't allow me to put them on. Instead, they forced me to take the bag of clothes that Buchnick had secured, which was ripped jeans and flip-flops. That night was one of the worst nights of my life in the past 4 years because I called David from jail, and he was worried. He was not able to tell me anything to allay my fright. I mean, it's not concern, it was fright. And he said, they've upcharged you with murder. I don't know how they're able to do that, on what evidence, but they've increased the charges. They want to keep you locked up now through trial, through verdict. But if we're asking for bail, they're requesting $1 million, which of course I don't have. So I spent the night knowing that I've got to go before a judge tomorrow. I didn't know what judge it would be. And I have to hope they lower this bail, that they allow me to post it. A judge can deny you bail altogether, that you're a danger to society, you've been indicted for murder, you're not going home.
There are active lawsuits between you and Michael Proctor, amongst others. You know, so there's some things that you can't say, but there are things that are indisputable. So Michael Proctor himself has admitted that he has texted people in group chats.
Okay, so Michael Proctor is No Nudes Proctor, right? I think that's who we're talking about. Also, kind of crazy that they went through all this trouble, like tried to possibly even bend the rules, break the law to try to get this woman framed for this, and they still lost, assuming that she's telling the truth and she didn't actually do it. Because I mean, I'm assuming people still can argue that she did do it, but I don't know about that. Yeah, they went through so much trouble to frame her, quote unquote, and still lose. Though the civil lawsuit against Proctor, is this her versus him? Then, like, she's trying to, I don't know how to say it. She's trying to come at him. Like, I thought maybe there's still people trying to come after her, but no, it seems like she's after him.
He hasn't found your nudes yet. He talked about and made fun of your medical condition, saying,
Okay, yep. We talked about that already.
It leaks poo, calling you a, quote, whack job cunt, and then basically saying you are a babe with no ass.
She's got a leaky balloon knot.
You followed that up with the phrase, leaks poo, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though. No ass.
When did you...
Yeah, I was saying, he did say that she's attractive, I guess, minus the no butt comment, which is again more insults. But then it's saying all this other mean stuff at the same time. It's just, he's a frat boy, right? I forgot all these people are acting like teenagers and frat boys. Like, it's so weird that all these grown professional adults are acting like adolescents, question mark. Especially Proctor. I mean, even Karen a little bit when she was engaging in potential intimacy with the other Brian, like one of the Brians, right? I think that was his name, right? Like there was some sort of chemistry going on and they were doing this weird flirting. And I don't know, was Karen doing that with him, or was that one of Karen's friends, ex-friends, and Brian? I forget that. But yeah, even that was kind of like adolescent behavior. So like everyone on the offense's side was very teenager, adolescent-esque. A lot of that behavior over there.
Did you first find out about these text messages? What was going on in your mind?
I knew there were vile text messages. They were under a federal protective order. They were first encountered by my team, by my lawyers in February of 2024, just before the first trial. I was not able to view these text messages. I just knew the generals, that they existed, and I knew they were involved in the cross-examination prep, which I was very involved in.
To have him, Michael Proctor himself, on the stand reading out what he sent, what's going on in your mind?
Yeah, there had been some leaks on Twitter that I saw an account, we called her a cunt, big, which I assumed someone like him uses language like that anyway. I knew in general that they were vile, but when he read them, I was actually annoyed that Adam Lally preempted us bringing these messages out in cross-examination. That should have been our moment. He's your lead detective. You're letting him lay this case out. This is showing bias. And Adam Lally, and you always run into this issue with trial, that if the evidence has already come out, you risk the judge saying, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Yannetti, that's already been asked and answered. So there was this worry that Lally is going to let Proctor read the text messages with very flat affect, and he did. You could barely understand. She's a babe with no ass, she has a leaky balloon on, and next.
Yeah, I feel like it doesn't really matter. They're so egregious that no matter how flat he reads them, it's still like, Jesus Christ.
With very flat affect, and he did. You could barely understand. She's a babe with no ass, she has a leaky balloon on, and next question, it was by design. Let's get him out there and preempt the defense from getting it out there. Luckily, we were still allowed, and we made the biggest moment of it. I cared more about his lies. What he said about me and my anatomy, it's disgusting, but it did not embarrass me. Michael Proctor does not have the ability to embarrass me. In fact, I have all that I have in my life right now, and well,
the problem is him trying to find nudes, right? That's, I don't know what that falls under the law, evasion of privacy or what, but him actively trying to look for inappropriate material on her phone/phones, question mark, has to be some sort of crime, right?
love and support and new endeavors such as this and meeting people like you, ironically because of Michael Proctor and what he tried to do to me. Joking about my apple, I mean, I don't even want to say it was a joke. He was talking about my rectum and that I've had rectal surgery. That this is a father of children, of boys, scarily. This is a husband of a woman, someone's son. This is a cop with power and carrying a gun and my age, more or less. And this is what this is his vernacular, a balloon knot and talking about my rectum. You're not embarrassing me. You're embarrassing yourself. And my medical issues, I've never been embarrassed by. I've struggled to.
I think she has Crohn's disease, which we already talked about, obviously, and multiple sclerosis.
Deal with them in society and in intimate situations. But I'm proud of what I've had to deal with. And the more I talk to people and the older I grow, I know everyone's got something. No one's escaping completely in one piece as we age. I cared more about his lies, him lying so blatantly. Every search warrant, 9 of them, took the car at 5:30, Why? Because the CERT team, and this was another major lamppost in 2022 for me, was when I was finally indicted after the awful experience of June 9th into June 10th. The floodgates opened, and now we get all the discovery. And a cousin of mine who's an attorney, we agreed we'd get the discovery, which was thousands of pages. And we attacked it from, I think she went from the beginning to the middle, and I went from the end to the middle. And she's a lobbyist. She was working full time, but every night she went home. I worked on it all day. She worked on it all night. And she called me one night. This isn't about July. So I've been indicted now and upcharged for a month, and we're working our way through our discovery. I don't know what day. I would be guessing, but it was like a Thursday, a weeknight. She calls me at about 10 or 11, and she said, Karen, read the CERT report. This is the Crime Scene Services search team. It's an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and there's a whole box for a narrative about the evidence that was found at 34 Fairview, and there's only 4 lines that I needed glasses to read what they said. And it was that the first pieces of red and clear lens were found at 34 Fairview. I can't remember if the report said 5:45.
The theories are, if they took Karen's car at 5:30 p.m., there won't be enough time to bring the taillight pieces to 34 Fairview. If they took Karen's car at 4:15 p.m., then that can give them enough time to bring the pieces to 34 Fairview to be, quote-unquote, discovered.
5 or 6 p.m. And then all of a sudden my light was not there all day long, because that was something I could not reconcile for months and months in 2022. But how did my taillight get there? How did they somehow find pieces of it broken at John's house from when I hit John's car at 5 in the morning? And were they able to transport those? That's the only thing I could figure out. And I still didn't have an answer as to why he lied about taking my car at 5:30 when he actually took it and left at 4:15. And it was that night in July. The CERT team did not find taillight until after Proctor had the taillight. And he had to get himself out of Canton at 5:45. If he's in Dighton at 5:30 in a blizzard, 35 miles from Canton, there's no way he can be in Canton with the Lexus and the Lexus's red taillight at 5:45. And it was just the biggest eureka of, more than the text messages, more than the butt dials, more than the phone and the SIM card cut up at the Air Force Base. To me, it was the cornerstone, because it just bothered me. I just couldn't reconcile, how did my taillight get there? I know I did not break my taillight at 35. I tried to think of every scenario in which I could have, and none of it was reasonable. And then I realized that moment it was placed there after they had access to it.
And the inverted footage.
And of the inverted footage. I mean, inverted footage didn't come for 2 more years, but when Proctor was on the stand reading the messages.
He's a whack job. See you.
Objection.
So don't spell it. You have to. So these are your words, Trooper Proctor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and say them.
Yeah, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though.
What do you mean, like, weird Fall River accent? Did we ever talk about that? Like, what does it even mean? I'm not familiar with what that means. I guess however she talks right now is her accent, but everyone here has this, like, thick Boston stereotype accent. So it's like, you know, kettle calling the pot black, or however that phrase goes, right? The pot calling the kettle black. That's what it is, right? The other way around. I guess it doesn't really matter which way you say it, right?
I'm going through his client's phone right now, correct?
Yes, after the picture, sir, yes.
Who's the client?
I was referring to Miss Reed.
He also called her retarded, correct?
That is what's written.
And that's what you read.
I have no memory of reading that.
I have no memory. I don't remember. I don't recall. Getting all the irritation back from this stupid trial.
I acknowledged him going through the phone on my Apple Watch. I have no memory of him writing retarded on a text message.
Did you encourage that statement by Michael Proctor by liking it with a thumbs up?
I don't know if it encouraged him, but so I cannot speak for
But that's
that.
what you did.
I acknowledged the text message being sent.
How close did you remain in contact with Michael Proctor after high school?
Very close.
Could you read all of them, please?
These are not my words.
I was like, who is this? Like, close friends? He's saying this isn't his words? What?
In contact with Michael Proctor after high school?
Very close.
Could you read all of them, please?
These are not my words. I'm not really comfortable reading these. Do I have to?
Is that true, or are they not from his phone? Is he not reading what was written from his phone?
Say these words out loud.
I'll say the words, and I'm going to ask you if I'm reading accurately. Is that better?
Yes.
11 p.m., 5 minutes, 57 seconds. Mr. Proctor says, from all accounts, he didn't do a thing wrong. She's a whack job. and then uses the C word to describe. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
At the bottom,
Okay,
one
sure.
member in the group stating, "Oh, she's skating."
Yes.
Mr. Proctor responds, "Zero chance she's skated. She's effed. She's fucked."
Yes.
And then one person in the group says, "No ass bitch." Accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
Mr. Proctor, there's a response, laughed at, quote, "No ass bitch."
Yes.
Somebody in the group says, "Is that chick a smoke?" And then the same person follows up with a question mark. Accurate?
Accurate.
Mr. Proctor responds, E-H.
Yes.
Nutbag, as my chief would say.
Yes.
She's got a leaky balloon knot.
Yes.
Leaks poo.
Yes.
Are those the words of Mr. Proctor?
They are.
Did I read those accurately?
You did.
But you're still friends with him?
I am.
I don't know if he was in that chat or not. So they were just reading Proctor's stuff, and then some random person in the chat responding back to them. I'm guessing he's saying he's not that friend. Also, the weird slang they're using wherever they're at. I don't know this slang, like skate and what else? They use some other word, smoke. Is she a smoke? I'm guessing that she's saying, is she hot? Or something like that.
He could be a pig and I could still be guilty. That's why I wanted the focus of the jury to be on Proctor's lies and the actual framing and how was this orchestrated and not on the fact that this man is a vile pig who talks about people's rectums. You could still have a guilty woman and just a very unprofessional investigator. I cared much more about the lies that enabled him to pull off what he pulled off. And the text messages were just, I just spent my energy assuring my parents that do not feel bad for me. This man does not have that power over me. Anyone who looks at me differently because some stranger who's never seen me naked is going to talk about my anatomy. Anyone who finds that entertaining or is going to judge me for it isn't anybody I want in my life anyway.
Yeah. During the trial, you're sitting there, the witnesses are going up onto the stand, they're testifying. They're like, Karen did this, Karen said this. How do you not go up and testify? Do you not have the urge to be like, no, let me tell you?
Well, isn't that like, she doesn't even have the power to do that, right?
I did have the urge, and I tried to quell that and to satiate it by doing the documentary so that I could go back to the hotel at night and be interviewed. The judge was...
Oh, Beverly, which was, again, another person on the side of the offense. What are they called? It's defense and then the prosecution and then the defense. I guess prosecution.
Appearing to be so much more lenient with her rulings with the prosecution than she was with us. I mean, we had to fight for everything. And it seemed to be a one-way street that there was a worry if I testified, the prosecutor, especially Brennan, he seemed to be given even more latitude than Lally was. He did this with our witnesses. He was putting words in their mouths in his questions of those witnesses. Not exactly, but for example, something like he would say to Dr. Wolf from ARCA, so after a car has backed up 60 feet at 20 miles an hour and damaged this arm, then did the car keep going? Like you can't testify for the witness. Wolf has to agree that that car, I can't remember the numbers anymore. I used to know them with precision and now I don't, but he would ask a question and insert the answer he wanted, which he shouldn't be allowed to do, but he was. So there was real risk. Same with risks putting Proctor on the stand, that we're not playing by the same rules, that Brennan was just so unethical in his questioning. I was really all right. I had lived 3 years before the first trial of long hearings, battling for things. I was getting used to it at this point. I don't think the public really started paying attention outside of the local market, really started paying attention until trial. But we had hours and hours of hearings for 3 years, including 2 arrests where I was in chains, shackled and handcuffed. So I had gotten very good at venting to the people that were there to be vented to. And I knew if I can escape this hell, I will be able to get my side out. So it wasn't as bad as people think, like, how did you watch this person and not scream? I felt very close to God. I felt my parents' presence behind me. I had my lawyers who became like family, all of them to me. And I knew they were frustrated on my behalf. And I knew the public, especially by the second trial, the public knew what was happening, that Karen, this isn't your scourge. This is not your cross alone. Everybody behind you and around you is carrying it. Do not let it eat at you. Do not let that person control you. They were all so repetitive and so like one another. Like I don't recall, and it was the defendant. I wish I'd known. I wish I had gone outside. And it was.
Yeah, like if we don't need a repeat of that, just like the constant. I don't recall. Objection. Sustained. Objection sustained. The trial was just so crazy. I feel like we need to go back and watch it again, just to see how stupid it was.
It wasn't laughable. It was very serious, but it was very predictable. And I hope it was transparent to the jury, and apparently it was to both juries, because I was acquitted both times.
Did you get a vibe that Auntie Bev did not like you?
I mean, of course not. I mean, she was paid off by the prosecution. Citation needed, so I don't get in trouble, because who knows what. They're like, oh, they're going to sue anyone who's saying that. Like, okay, whatever. But yeah, I mean, she's on the prosecution side. She's friends with all of them. I forget how exactly she's related. But is she like related to somebody on this side or something? Question mark. There's some like thread that connects her to the prosecution side that isn't just no, she's a buddy with them and is paid off by them. I think she actually has family or something on that side of the prosecution.
Yeah.
Judge Cannoni.
Yes. I felt that Judge Cannoni did not. I felt that she had a personal animus towards me. Absolutely. I felt it very early on. In our early hearings in 2022, we wouldn't be called right away because there were other cases. They started prioritizing us, and we were drawing such crowds that when we would have a hearing, they would get it started very promptly to help clear the courthouse, get us all in and get us all out, get the media out, and then hear other cases. But early on, when it wasn't attracting a big crowd, we would wait our turn, and there'd be other cases and other defendants called. And I was sitting at a hearing, I want to say it was September of 2022. It was like the first hearing that Alan was on the team for, and we were sitting in the back row, if you're looking at the courtroom on the left side, waiting, and there were maybe 4 other cases that she called, and every defendant, it was all 4 men, maybe 1 woman, thank you for being here, thank you for dressing professionally for court. She said this, it was on repeat for every, thank you for being here, thank you for dressing professionally to court. This happened in multiple hearings. She never said it to me. There were moments that I felt she was ruling unfairly, but as far as not liking me, that was the first indication I felt she may not like me personally for some reason.
Again, she's just paid off by the prosecution side, or not necessarily paid off. Like I said, she's literally part of the clique or family that's on the prosecution. Yeah, was she saying this before or after? She could argue with what she said at the beginning there that Bev did not like Karen because Karen Reed is getting too much publicity and there's too much media making a ruckus at the courthouse, and it's making her upset, which is why she is taking it out on Karen, question mark, is because Karen is drawing too much attention to her courthouse.
For some reason. And then there was a moment with the verdict form in trial 1 where, I mean, your viewers need to see the verdict form if they haven't, that they then tried to present in the second trial. Again, this verdict form.
I forgot. What was this? This looks familiar. What was this?
Your viewers need to see the verdict form if they haven't, that they then
not guilty of offense as charged, murder in the second degree. This is the thing that they gave the jury, question mark. Is that what this is for? And you write not guilty or guilty, sure.
Tried to present in the second trial. Again, this verdict.
Okay, I vaguely remember this. It's written in a way where it's like, okay, you have to, I don't know, like guilty of offense as charged, guilty of lesser offense, guilty of lesser included charge of blah, and then blah, 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 blah. So they say not guilty twice. So you're trying to charge her with multiple things. Like, okay, we gotta say not guilty here and not guilty here.
Verdict form, it had, just by setup, it had the word guilty 8 times and the word not guilty 3 times. It's visually confusing. It's visually confusing, and it's prejudicing the jurors to think I'm guilty because they just see the word guilty so many times. So Alan is arguing with the court and with the clerk that we want to revise this verdict form. And she's arguing this is how it's always done, Mr. Jackson. This is how it's done in Massachusetts. I mean, that was the topic of what was happening at the time. And she just kind of dismissed it. And we're done here. And I went, like, just like that. And she said, is this funny, Ms. Reed?
Okay, I disagree with you. All right, excuse me. This is funny, Ms. Reed? All right, we're done.
All right, to the court, please.
I think it was prejudicial towards me, the defendant, that she chose to characterize my exasperation as making a joke of the proceeding. Is this funny, Ms. Reed? My jurors and the media heard that, and that was a gross mischaracterization. Judge Cannoni knows exactly what my reaction was. It was one of disbelief and exasperation and frustration. And she addressed me. I have lawyers here who speak on my behalf. You can address my lawyers who can address me. But you addressing me directly is baiting me to then respond to the court, which will not end well for me. But those, and the list goes on, but her calling me out, like, she knows what I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
She knows how difficult this is for any defendant to stand trial. When the
She's just trying to make a scene. Even if she doesn't even get the kind of scene that she wants, just being like, hey, do you think this is funny? And then immediately just being like, okay, court's done. It makes it seem like she's really upset, though. Like, the judge is really upset. But that still is all being targeted at Karen. And then the jury can have their minds changed, I guess, from that one moment if they're so easily changed. At least the second judge came in and that was better, right? Who knows what happened if Beverly was still the judge for the second one, or whichever one it was, because I know they got her out of there at some point. The issue there would be is she just going to lie and be like, hey, you were found guilty? I don't know if the jury could be like, hey, no, we didn't say that. We did not agree on that. I'm assuming she can get in trouble for that, but who knows? Maybe they could just pay off the jury and be like, hey, say she's guilty. I wouldn't hold it past them from doing that.
The verdict was read. We were prepared for a sentencing hearing. So my legal team in the days of the verdict watch was split up into two groups. At the hotel, Alan had a suite at one end of the top floor, and Bob Alessi had a suite at the other. And we had two teams. Liza, Evan, Alan, and I were working on the closing argument. David, Yannetti, Bob, and Sophie and Sydney, two of our interns, were in Bob's room working on a sentencing hearing. So if, God forbid, I was convicted of anything, which we thought there was a likelihood I could be convicted of the OUI based on how the first trial
Operating under the influence.
ended, hung up, jurors were telling us they were looking for an OUI, not a manslaughter OUI, but just garden variety OUI that was not there. They were working on sentencing that if I was convicted of OUI, we fully expected, I did anyway, my lawyers were split, that Brennan would ask for the maximum 2 years. So it was such a difficult decision to put the OUI on the slip because I felt I was almost guaranteeing I was going to go to jail. That with this...
Would they try to use that as like some sort of like further gotcha? Like, we already got you in jail, so now let's buy time to frame you even further to then get you for murder? Because there's also just the fact that her being sentenced for anything could be misconstrued by the media to be like, Karen Reed sentenced in murder of John. And it would be technically correct, but it's a title made in bad faith, right? Because she's been sentenced to OUI or whatever, operating under the influence, and not for killing John. But they could spin that however they want in the news to be like, she's been found guilty of something in the John case, ? And people would just see that and take it at face value and be like, oh my God, I knew she did it, or I can't believe she did that, and not actually read into what's actually happening and be like, no, she just got sentenced for intoxication, ? Or what have you. And they could just like all dogpile on her.
This district attorney and this judge, if I don't put OUI on, the jury is forced, if they want to convict me, it's going to have to do with John's death. But once I put OUI on, just drunk driving, I'm much more likely, based on the evidence, the blood alcohol taken from the hospital, I'm more likely to get a conviction. And while I'm not facing life in prison, I could be facing 2 years in prison. I had to have, I got about a dozen character letters, they're called, of not friends and family, but teachers I've had, students I've had, coworkers of mine. And the character letter has to be written on the premise that you are guilty. You're not arguing for my innocence. You have to accept the conviction, but then argue for the judge based on my character and what they know about me personally, that she should go light on sentencing. So I'm in one room preparing for a full acquittal with Alan's clothes, and then I'm running down the hall and making sure all the character letters are getting printed, and we have case law for the judge that this is a first-time OUI. What do you do for a first-time OUI? You suspend their license and they go to a drunk driving class. If Brennan, which we expected was going to argue for jail time, we had to have a robust motion in opposition. Why not? So the verdict is read.
I'm assuming if Beverly still has control over this, well then she's getting 2 years no matter what, right?
I'm relieved, but I'm still waiting. After the final not guilty, the leaving scene was read, I still have sentencing because I was found guilty of the OUI. So Judge Cannoni looks at Hank Brennan and says, and what do you recommend for sentencing? And this was almost more shocking than the verdict. Truly shocking. Like, I had expected it, if I had to bet an appendage, had thought if I was convicted of OUI or anything, Brennan would ask for the max sentence. And
I'm guessing he didn't, ?
I thought she would split the baby and say, well, the max is 2, I'm gonna give her a year, which is still devastating. So she looks to Brennan and he says, the Commonwealth recommends 1 year probation with a suspended license. And she looks at him and says, same as every other first-time offender. And he goes, same as every other first time. And it was like the most charitable thing. Actually, not even charitable. I'm miscalibrated. It was fair.
You're not used to that.
Hey, Mr. Brennan, what's the Commonwealth's recommendation?
The Commonwealth moves to sentencing. We recommend probation 1 year, 24D program.
So the standard that everybody else gets on a first-time OUI?
Certainly.
Okay.
Okay, weird. Is weird. I don't know how to feel about that.
So I'm happy to do it. All right, thank you all.
1 year probation.
Okay, that's so weird.
1 year probation on docket number 002.
It's the wildest turn of events. I couldn't believe that this man, Brennan, was just arguing in his closing argument 2 days earlier for me to spend my life in prison. And then he has a moment with a judge that seems favorable to him to send me to jail enough to hurt. A week is enough to hurt. And he says, just slap her on the wrist. I looked at him and it just, so wait, were you faking all along? Yeah. Or you know this is the only way to be saved with your public image is you lost, so now you almost have to be reasonable. But this is just it just felt like a big game that they call in the jury, they're about to read the verdict. They stuff the courtroom with court officers because if I'm guilty of, if I'm sentenced to anything requiring incarceration, and if I'm convicted of murder, I'm getting cuffed right there on the spot. I can't reach behind and squeeze my mother. I can't hug one of my lawyers. It's over, and I'm walking out the back door. So they surround you, and to prevent any outburst and to control me, and then in the blink of an eye, it's, yeah, just make her go to a DUI class, and there's a parade out front for it too, by the way. It was just, that was the most befuddling of the 3 months of the second trial was when Brennan said, yeah, just 1 year probation. I'm like, wait a minute. You're
Did she even get that though? I don't know if she got found guilty of the OUI though. Like I don't know if they said that or not, or if we have that information, or this is all just hypothetical, right? It's just like, okay, if you do get prosecuted, if you do win, what do you want her to get? And he's like, okay, just 1 year probation. Like I don't know if she actually got the probation, or we just still are speaking hypothetically? Question mark. Yeah, it doesn't make sense if you want to continue to be conspiratorial against these people. You could say, okay, they're just trying to save face and seem like they're not actually terrible people. And it's like, okay, well, we've lost, but let's try to spin it as like, oh, look at how nice we are, how charitable we are. Because then you could argue like, okay, maybe they are the nice guys, and then maybe Karen actually is a bad guy. If these guys are so nice that they're only giving her probation, maybe there is more to it, and Karen actually is a bad person, and these people are just the nice guys. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Right? I'm on the same page as her. I thought there's gonna be some sort of M. Night Shyamalan twist of like why they would do this, and we don't know what the reason is. I don't think. I don't get it.
My life. Can you at least be consistent? Yeah. And pretend you think I'm a bad person? Can you just finish the charade? And even with the judge.
So the standard that everybody else gets on the first time OUI.
Yeah, that this almost seems rehearsed though. This. Let's give her probation, and her saying, so the same as every other person who gets it on the first time. That felt so uncanny and rehearsed, and something they talked about beforehand. I don't know. There's something weird about that interaction. It just feels uncomfortable in a weird way.
Okay. It was same as every other, like, I haven't felt same as every other defendant at all in this courthouse. That I was still in shock at that I was convicted of the OUI and that Brennan didn't argue, and all that work we did, of course, because we were prepared. We didn't need it, thank God.
Wait, where's she? You just said she was convicted, right? So she did get convicted, but it was just a year probation.
But that was one of the more shocking events of the second trial for me.
Rotten Mango. We have a Morgan and Morgan ad. This is in fact the Morgan and Morgan ad that lasts like 2 seconds. Well, I guess it's not really 2 seconds. This video is like almost 2.5 hours, so it makes sense. We've already seen like the Morgan and Morgan stuff in her like ad spots throughout, but we usually skip this part, right? As we do. Or I would actually back in the day would just have it like playing on mute like this and like talking about other stuff, right? It's been so long since we had like an ad break like this. Let me just do my own. But again, want to support this channel. There's Throne. We're not going to talk about that for too long. But yeah, Morgan and Morgan. Did Morgan Morgan help her though? It'd be crazy if Morgan Morgan actually was part of the like firm or what have you, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, law firm that her lawyers are from. And they actually got her off, because if that's the case, this is Karen Reed's like a good like poster girl, I guess. I don't know what you would call it, for Morgan and Morgan, right? This is like this could get them a lot of business, but I don't know if Morgan and Morgan is affiliated with her team at all. Question mark. I don't know. Does she have like I don't know if she has a link or anything. Oh, I have it muted. Whoops.
Below or visit forthepeople.com/rotten. That's forthepeople.com/rotten. Or dial #law 529 from your phone. This is a paid advertisement. Because if you think about it, Morgan and Morgan, flip it around, win-win. Speaking of Auntie Bev characterizing you as thinking something is funny, I feel like during your trial, there was so much emphasis on your demeanor, your expressions. There are some crazy headlines that I think maybe you can clear the air on. If you want to pass me Exhibit A. So I'm going to read you the headline and the accompanying photo that they put with this headline.
Okay.
And then some comments. And I feel like probably what happened is nothing like the headline.
I'm sure.
Thank you. This is the first headline by the New York Post.
Of course.
Who does not like you for some reason. And the headline is, Karen Reed flashed sinister smirk as gory photos of her dead cop boyfriend are shown in court. I mean, I'm imagining.
Like, as I was saying earlier, sensationalized title, which as I was saying earlier, what they could use, sensationalize her being like actually judged on the OUI and then getting sentenced to 2 years in jail. They could sensationalize that into being Karen Reed sentenced to 2 years in jail for the John case of him being murdered or whatever. You know, they could spin it in some sort of way. I'm not like trying to make it like a good statement in a headline or anything, right? But that's essentially what it'd be like.
Imagining that was not.
No, first of all, I'm talking. My eyes are wide open. I'm looking that looks to my right. That's Alan or Liza sitting there, and I'm going, something. Yeah. I mean, I can reproduce that face very, very easily, but I'm not smirking. I'm actually just speaking. And I don't think I spoke or turned at all when the photos were shown. I looked, I mean, I remember this very clearly, but I've seen those photos. Yeah. They're on my phone. Yeah. I've poured through them to his pores. I know his photos. I've watched his autopsy. Those photos, as shown in court, I have had for years, and I've analyzed. It took us. There's a burn mark on his sternum that we couldn't figure out for months what it was, and finally realized. I think I Googled or described it to Google. It was he was burned with the defibrillator pads. I'm just giving an example of. They were horrifying to see. For several weeks, I told David not to upload them to the Dropbox that lived on my cell phone because I didn't want there to be any chance I'd be scrolling through Dropbox and there it was. The autopsy took me like a year. It's quite gruesome. I can't believe people do this for a living, but I had to know everything so I could piece everything together. But I don't believe I spoke ever or turned to speak to a lawyer. Well, the photos of his body were up on the projection.
That's what we assumed.
But I do look like that when I talk sometimes, unfortunately.
This one is also wild. Karen Reed rolls eyes, snaps at defense team as she stands trial in murder of Boston cop boyfriend John O'Keefe.
Oh, I'm sure I rolled my eyes. I know I've rolled my eyes many times. I speak very emphatically. I'm sure.
I was trying to see what this is. It's just the text being translated down.
I rolled my eyes. I know I have rolled my eyes many times. I speak very emphatically to the defense team. I'm very animated and emotional, but I have never snapped at them.
Imagine.
Even if I wanted to, which I've never wanted to. Yeah. I would never do that. But there were many times in trial that I looked at a lawyer. It was easiest to look to David because my back would be to the camera, but I can't help it. Yeah. I definitely rolled my eyes during trial many times.
And honestly, it's crazy that they're doing this. And like the people's comments is even crazier because I don't know what people want from you. Like, do they want you to be stoic? Do they want you to?
You can't win for losing. Yeah. If you're crying, then I am out of tears. I'm out of tears about the tragedy of January 29th. I have mourned for months and years before the public ever knew me. But that's why lawyers advise you. You've got to look at the way the jury's looking at it. That they're seeing those photos for the first time. You have to pretend like you're looking. It's hard for me to pretend much. I can't fake things. Then I feel like I look like a faker. So I try to be stoic. I could not cry. I would not allow myself to cry. I would not cry in front of the O'Keefes. I would not cry in front of the prosecution. I felt both of those groups were looking at this completely backwards. They were refusing to see the truth or willingly not looking at the truth. And I needed to stay strong. I couldn't break down. I did one day going into court. It was just, I just had a really tough time getting out of the SUV. It was just a rough morning. I couldn't go up and down emotionally like that. I had to go in strong. I had to go in tough, and I had to maintain it. I had to control myself the best I could, and I wasn't about to strap myself in to an emotional roller coaster. I would never survive. I had to do this twice. So I understand. I do understand the public saying, that's horrible what I just heard or what I just saw. First of all, things that may have seemed emotional and upsetting to the public, I may have found to be insincere. But a lot of the gruesome images I have dealt with and seen nearly daily. I understand the reaction of the public, expecting more emotion, but I have evolved to a different place.
You were just damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yeah.
Yep.
If you had to go to lunch with either Lally or Brennan.
Prosecutor from the first trial, prosecutor from the second. I don't remember how they were. I don't know who was more annoying, question mark, because isn't just all the same thing, just, objection sustains. Though I guess it depends, right? When did the better judge come into play? Because USMP isn't going to like play their game and just have to deal with like this objection every other sentence. So would it be Adam the one who's constantly objecting and getting his objections sustained? I don't know. I don't have context for this anymore of who's more annoying than the other guy, because it's been so long since we've watched the court videos.
Who would you go to lunch with?
I would go with Brennan.
I answered neither.
I feel that I make him very uncomfortable.
Your Honor, my brief review of the lab
What was that? Hello?
paperwork, and looking at the hoodie, it appears that I made a mistake.
He does look very uncomfortable, but what? Why did he? Huh?
I feel that I make him very uncomfortable.
That pause.
My brief review of the lab.
What was that? Him looking down at something and then getting stun locked, and then I was like, okay, let me readjust and continue. Like, that was weird. That was in fact very awkward.
Brief review of the lab paperwork.
And then he just stuttered there too. Like, what is going on with you?
And looking at the hoodie, it appears that I made a mistake.
We've had
multiple blinks there as well.
In the courtroom. Lally, I don't have pleasant thoughts about either one of them. I don't think they're honorable. I don't think they have integrity. I don't think they're honest. I wouldn't want to eat or watch either of them eat. Yeah. But I think I'd have better stories to tell.
Does anybody want to watch anybody eat? I say that when we watch so many of Stephanie's mukbangs, but I guess we're not really watching her eat, so, even though they do sometimes eat. We usually skip the eating part, but...
Eating with Hank Brennan.
So I guess like mukbangs in general defeat what I just said, because obviously people want to watch other people eat. Well, it's not that they want to watch other people eat. They want to imagine that they're with someone eating. Like, they're going to eat, they're watching another person eat so they don't feel lonely, right? That's the main reason why you watch mukbangs, I think. At least that's what I've heard. Like, that's why they're so popular, because you want to be having a meal with someone else, even digitally.
You have 1 minute, Mr. Lally. Wrap it up.
Yes, sir. All consistent with pieces of taillight that are found within his clothing.
I think this was in the videos. Oof. Come on, hurry up. Vámonos.
It's coming if I could.
What is going on? I know we've already seen this before, but it's just... I'm assuming we've seen this before, but like, Jesus Christ, this is awkward.
It's very monotone.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at how neither seemed to really prepare much. Like, Lally might have read, I can't even remember. You know, you don't practice a memory, you don't remember it anymore, and you tend not to want to practice painful memories. So I can't remember if Lally read, I think he did, for his opening and closing arguments in the first trial, but Brennan did not. And I think he was trying, I'm guessing, if I had to guess, that he was trying to convey an ease with the subject matter, a comfort and familiarity and conviction in the subject matter, and an intelligence that I can speak extemporaneously about what this woman did. I know so well and I believe so strongly that she did it that I'm going to walk around and pontificate. And we were much more structured, but I know the details of this case. I know them, and I know he messed a lot of them up. And I mean, the jurors didn't have their notebooks in closing argument, so it was probably lost on them. Luckily for Brennan, but he should have written at least some bullets for the details, for the data points.
Clearly, this is a hypothetical question. If you could put at least 2 people involved in your case, inject them with truth serum, compel them to tell the truth, which 2 people would you choose?
Proctor and the guy who owns the house. I feel like, right? Those would be the 2. Because we're saying that John was killed in that guy's house. Question mark, that police officer, ex-police officer, I don't know his role anymore. That guy's house. You would give him, or if we're saying that maybe, I forgot who, it's not his son, right? Is it his son, or is it like his nephew? I don't know. Is it his brothers? I just remembered that his freaking brother is also involved in this. There's so many of these people of that family involved. Is it his brother's son that potentially could have beat up John and killed him? Question mark. They could have done it together. They could have beat him up together. They could have jumped him together. But his son might have been involved. Like, someone's son could have been involved in this too. Question mark. And so would you want to give it to the owner of the house? I think his name's Brian, because we have 2 Brians, right? I think the owner of the house, Brian. Or would you want to give it to the son? because the son might have not done it, but at least Brian is the owner of the house. So I think it's Brian and then Proctor. Right? That's the right choice? Brian and Brock, and I was about to say Brian and Proctor. Brian and Proctor? Question mark? I think that's the right choice.
Oops. Michael Proctor and Brian Albert.
What did I say? I knew exactly the two people who needed to take the serum. Literally what I just said. Brian and Proctor. Literally spot on. Easy.
What would you hypothetically want to know or ask?
The truth.
About that night, about everything?
The night, the months. I have a pretty good guess of how things... I've seen these men, they were on tape, sparring and shadowboxing just minutes before.
Yeah, this weird testosterone behavior.
Just minutes before. I can surmise, based on what I know of these people, what I know of John when he's been drinking, what I've seen of Colin Albert when I've had to cross paths with him.
That's the boy I was talking about. Because I was saying maybe he was potentially the person who beat up John, but I guess it could have been both of them. But at least, Brian is the center, so it had to be Brian over Colin. And then of course Proctor is just a piece of trash who probably knows everything about this case because he's the one who's trying to throw Karen under the bus, and it's probably a decent mastermind in all of this. So yeah, again, it has to be Brian, has to be Proctor.
I can surmise what happened. I'm more curious about whom they had to enlist
Sure.
in other events that unfolded over the following months as we made headway, probably much to their disbelief.
Mm-hmm. Have you run into them since the trial? Any of them?
Oof.
Like in public?
That's a question.
That's a good question. I want to say no, but let me think about it. Like I was in a...
I mean, she lives in the same place as Brian, at least, right? So
I was in a bar. I was at the Warren Tavern in Charlestown, and a girl who works there is a very staunch supporter. She was at many of the trial dates, and she had told me that Brian Albert had been in there. I know that I've missed Brian Albert a couple times. My guess is he is not embraced in Boston establishments the way I am. But no, I don't think I've run into. Thankfully, I don't care to see. I don't fantasize about it. I don't need to see any of these people.
What about like people who think you're...
Oh, first interjection of husband. I don't know if he was even going to say anything. Someone walked in earlier. I was guessing that was him, but I didn't know if he was just sitting there in the background like that. But I mean, that's just standard husband, right? Is just sitting in the background, sometimes not saying anything for an hour, and then just interjecting out of nowhere. I think someone who got jump scared at one point, because I remember someone said they got jump scared in a video of a Rotten Mango reaction where he just started talking out of nowhere and it spooked them. I remember that. It was a long time ago, but I remember you saying that, whoever you were.
I don't care to see. I don't fantasize about it. I don't need to see any of these people.
What about like people who think you're guilty? Like, have you run into them in public, and how could you tell? Because is that what they say, how they act?
Yeah, I had one person out of, at this point, over several thousand, come up to me on Hanover Street. I was leaving a restaurant, Saraceno's, where the owners have been incredibly hospitable to me and my legal team. Throughout trial, we'd pop in there all the time. And some woman, very haggard, older woman, came up to me and asked me right outside the restaurant. We had just left, and she came up to me on the steps of Saraceno's and said, "How can you smile? You're Karen Reed. How can you smile?" And before I could even, I'd not had an interaction like this at all. This was in November of 2024, between the two trials. I had not had an encounter like this. And the owners of Saraceno's, they also own like a coffee shop right next door. So they take up some real estate on that sidewalk. Several of them came out and all but chased her down the street with pitchforks. Shut up, you're ignorant. And she didn't seem to be of all her. Yeah, she didn't seem to be of all her wits. That is the only time that has happened. We've spent most of our time in the Seaport. We've just in our downtime. Nearly every Friday. I can't think of a Friday that eventually we didn't make our way to a restaurant. You had to decompress, no matter how exhausted, which we all were every Friday. You had to blow off some steam.
It's interesting that it seems there's like no backlash from just regular people for her. Like she said, there's just like one old lady one time, and everybody else is just being nice to her. So it's interesting that there is no hate, like at least visible hate that we know of, towards Karen ? There's like a huge crowd outside the court, right, who is just like celebrating that she won the case, right? So
just be somewhere loud and talk to people, and the support at so many establishments anywhere in Newbury Street, and we were in the North End a lot. I have not paid for a full drinks, appetizer, dinner, dessert tab in 2 years. People, and it's all helped. It's all helped get us there, and especially for my lawyers and my family. They're not me. I know what support I have everywhere I go. I'm supported. They need to know it too, because when they go home between the trials, they're back to their, I don't want to say obscurity, but just back to their normal lives. But
I wonder what job she has right now, because I forget what kind of job she had before. Is she even still working, or what? She says she's living with her parents, right? So what job does she have now? Or is she just chilling?
I can't thank the people in Boston proper, young couples, families, business proprietors, the people at the hotel, 2 hotels we've stayed at a lot, just makes us feel so strong. And for me, makes me feel confident that if my jury is anything representative of the people I'm encountering every day, I will be okay. But the public that was very vocal at court and online on social media, and the public that just came up to me one moment on the street and I never saw them again, has helped invigorate and steel each one of us, even if we may not have acted. I mean, there were times people came up for selfies, and we were having, there was a serious conversation Alan and I were having with Marty Weinberg at the end of
Federal appeals attorney.
his second trial. And I said, Alan, I really have no money left. The last asset I had was my house, and that paid the bulk of trial 2 plus donations. But now I need to put wheels in motion for an appeal. My parents are getting older. My closest friend, who's incredibly intelligent, is also incredibly busy professionally. This was like a week before the closing argument, and Alan and I were in a restaurant. It was quiet, and we were talking to Marty Weinberg on speaker. And it's funny, I ended up seeing a photo. There was a woman at the bar of this restaurant that I could tell was taking our photo. She was weird. I didn't actually see her take a photo, but she was very interested in us. I ended up seeing the photo of Alan and me on Twitter with some salacious headline. And I thought, I showed it to Alan. I said, if they only knew what we were actually, if she had just walked over and spied on us, the headline would have been even better than what the contrived headline was, which is Karen Reed and Alan Jackson overheard on speaker with Marty Weinberg discussing a potential conviction. And Marty, Marty, we don't talk about a lot because he's just come in as a pinch hitter, but it's been in such major ways. And the appeal, which was somewhat thankless because we didn't have any success with it after the...
I'm wondering if that photo is the photo that we were talking about earlier.
After the first acquittal, the mistrial. But I'll never forget that conversation with him. It was, I think, a Sunday afternoon, and I'm in a steakhouse with Alan talking to him, and Marty says, you're not going to need it, Karen. You're not going to need it, but this is who I recommend. This is the kind of retainer he's going to need. You need to do this. You need to do this. And it was a tough day. We walked back to the hotel, and I felt I was probably like a little weepy. I don't remember how I got on that topic, but
I think someone was like asking for a selfie.
Oh yeah. Someone. So on the way home from that call with Marty, a daughter and mother had asked for selfies, and I just. Like I couldn't. The selfie question is very difficult. A lot of times I'm eating, or I'm having a private conversation. I don't like how I look, like any normal 45-year-old woman. I've been crying or I've been upset, and then if you say no, then people think I'm a bitch. Like, I'm supporting you. You're on trial for murdering a cop. You should be so lucky that I'm trying to support you. But then if I do take the photo, it's on social media, and I look like I'm enjoying my life. I'm smiling, and I look celebratory. I cannot win that game. I've turned people down for selfies, and then they just walk a half a block back and take it, or they'll ask, well, can I have her? If I'm with Liza, can I just take her selfie? There's definitely, I'm smart enough about Gen Z, millennials, and my Gen X that I cannot interpret every selfie as staunch support for my innocence. There are people that ask for selfies that maybe don't even believe I'm innocent or don't know anything about the case, but know that I've had people come up to me in the seaport and say, are you famous? Because they just saw it, and then ask for a selfie, and they don't even know who I am. They're going to post it, and then and then start collecting the likes. It's always been a guy too, like a Gen Z guy. Who are you? Like, who are you? I'm like, you don't need to worry. If you don't know, then you don't need to worry about it.
They're like, are you on TV?
Yeah, it's weird.
Have you?
How many people actually act like that? Because I don't know if I've been out and seen a bunch of people crowding around someone or looking like someone's famous and then being like, oh, is that person famous? Maybe I should go over there and like figure that out. I probably wouldn't be as far away from that person as possible, but that's just maybe just because that kind of mentality and behavior is obviously for younger people. Like she's saying Gen Z. I'm not Gen Z. And maybe Gen Z is just like born into the, social media era, question mark, to just have to be posting everything, trying to get likes, trying to get clicks. Even if you're not an influencer or a content creator, you're still trying to get that online clout. just for the sake of the clout, not to actually grow a brand or a channel or anything. You're just doing it to do it. I don't know. And that's why you would be put into situations like that where just some random Gen Z, a younger Gen Z kid or some older alpha kid. I don't know how old alphas can be at this point, but I'm probably old enough to want to be taking pictures. Yeah, like older alpha, younger Gen Z are just constantly trying to find famous people and take pictures with them, question mark, I don't know. But yeah, like you are saying as well, you try to avoid them. Like if I know there's someone famous out there, I'm trying to avoid them. I don't care that you're famous and out in public. Like I don't care, leave me alone, question mark.
You've been on the Karen Reed Reddit pages.
One good thing about having such a high profile case that's played out publicly is if we're working on trial or working on a witness and it's, well, when did Buchnick testify that the video was a true and accurate representation of the Sally Port? I can just Google it. I don't even, it's like, all right, what's quicker? Do I go into my files with my library lookup system, or do I just Google it and it says day 27, Buchnick testifies June 10th or whatever the date was. So I have not purposefully gone on Reddit to look myself up, but I have done searches looking for details that have led me to Reddit. And I've always been very pleased. I may not be seeing the right things, but I've always been pleased at the discussions I've seen on Reddit. They seem, they're intelligible and they're intelligent. They're not as emotionally, it seems anyway, that they're not as emotionally charged.
I don't know about that, Karen. I'm pretty sure Reddit is considered, I mean, Reddit is a okay place, I guess, if you're like trying to find something. Because like I said, I don't use Reddit unless I'm like looking up something, question mark, and it just happens to take me to Reddit for an answer. But I don't know if I even have a Reddit account. Maybe I do. I don't know. I don't know if I even have a Reddit account, but yeah, depending on who you talk to, like Reddit can be considered a cesspool, like most places online. You could argue that Twitter's a cesspool, or even Instagram. But Instagram too, I don't know. Actually, I don't really know about Instagram, Lester, because I just use it for art, right? My Twitter and Instagram are for posting 3D models and artwork and stuff like that. So most of the stuff I see, or at least on Instagram, is art related. Like most of the thing, well, not most, nearly all of the stuff that I'm following on Instagram is artwork, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a section of Instagram that's a cesspool, and Twitter, and especially Reddit, 4chan as well. I know 4chan is probably like a giga cesspool. Again, another place I don't go to. Just everywhere on the internet's cesspool. Just go outside. I'm joking about just going outside. You don't have to go outside if you don't want to go outside, but still.
Charged as social media pages where there are people with targeted goals. Like there'll be, I'm not on Twitter anymore, but I have popped on and off Twitter because there are some people that have actually done very good digging. That's been helpful to me. But I'll read a comment that Karen Reed looks like a leather handbag and she looks like a man with a wig. Or, I like.
What? I mean, what? I mean, that's just like a low ball nonsense that you're gonna see. Just can't really say anything but insults. Again, as soon as you insult someone, right, you've already lost the argument or whatever you're trying to say. These people are already lost if they're just insulting rather than having a educated discussion, i.e., No Nudes Proctor just saying insults to this woman in text messages to his quote-unquote friends.
A leather handbag and she looks like a man with a wig. Or I've read very physically demeaning things. I'm like, clearly you are over emotional for some unconnected third party. Yeah. You can say, I don't like the look on her face, she looks guilty, or I don't like the sound of her voice, she sounds arrogant. But when it gets very personal, I think, all right, which member of which family? This is too visceral.
What, paid actors, question mark, industry plants. Did anyone call Proctor like a boiled egg or something? I feel like they might have, like Stephanie or someone might have called Proctor a boiled egg. Or maybe I'm just making it up and I just wanted to call him a boiled egg. Even though I just said, once you start insulting people, you've already lost the argument. I swear someone called him a boiled egg.
You must be part of the shrapnel in this whole mess that you're saying. I don't know.
No, I agree.
It's not exactly those comments, but they're trying to hurt me, but they're so personal that it's so obvious. Yeah. It's one of these or it's one of those guys.
It's goofy. I know that you legally cannot say a lot of things. There are a lot of theories online about Canton's residence. A girl must try. So I'm just going to run them through you. Huh? There is an online conspiracy that Brian Albert and his sister-in-law, Jen McCabe.
Okay. What was the conspiracy here? I don't remember. Between them two.
Jen!
are having an affair.
Who's she again?
Jenny.
Sister-in-law. Okay, yeah, I think I remember this from the videos. That's happening. Would that interfere with the current civil things that she's doing? She's in a civil trial with Proctor. That's what was said, right?
Jen are having an affair. Do you know anything about that?
I do not know anything about that. I had read things like that very early on. John O'Keefe had told me when we first started dating in 2020. So we started dating very early in the pandemic. We had dated when we were in our early 20s, but we reconnected. He reached out to me during the pandemic. I think just because everyone was stranded at home and you're resorting to social networking. And he had told me, like our second date, that there is this according to John, that there was at that time a swinger scene in Canton, which I had read in Boston Magazine that there was one in a different Boston suburb. I'd never read specifically about Canton, but John insisted there was. And I think he can't be the only person, and I can't be the second person that's heard that rumor, fueled by these are people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s in some cases, hanging out all the time, drinking very late, drinking with family. So I don't know if there's truth to it, but I could see how rumors like that start. I had heard it from John, not about anyone in particular, but about couples in Camden.
What is this? Oh, that how's long thing is coming up.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever Googled?
What's the weirdest thing I've ever Googled?
At like 2 in the morning.
Oh God. I'm sure I've Googled something weird. I haven't Googled anything incriminating.
Yeah.
I'm sure it had something to do with like matching wires on a chandelier at my house or something like to do with fixing something like what is this bolt that's sticking out of my lawnmower or something. But I don't know. I don't think I've Googled something like perverted person anyway. But
there is an online rumor that Jen McCabe has voodoo dolls, plural.
Huh? What? Okay, this is like out of there now because we have not heard that last time. Like, what do you mean she has voodoo dolls?
Do you believe it?
Oh, voodoo dolls of Karen. Where would she get them from? Like, is there a voodoo scene in Massachusetts? Question mark. I believe Louisiana. Sure, the people out there might have voodoo dolls. By the way, my dad's from Louisiana, so don't get upset that I said that. Yeah, I would assume from like Louisiana because there should be some cultural stuff that revolves around voodoo around those areas, but voodoo dolls in Massachusetts? That's where this is at, right? Or wherever the heck this is. Why would she have them? Question mark. That's a weird conspiracy. I feel like they just pulled that out of a hat and it's like, let's talk about her having voodoo dolls for no reason. Because that is a weird one. And what would she even do with them? Like, Karen seems to be fine, so clearly they ain't working if she got them.
I don't believe that.
You don't?
I don't.
That's good. Okay, because that would be creepy. I don't know how I would feel if someone had voodoo dolls of me.
It's not working.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, clearly it's not working if they do have them. And, you know, I don't know if I would be... I don't know if, it's that crazy to think someone might have one of Stephanie. Maybe trying to make one of her husband? Question mark. They try to get him out of the equation. But don't you have to have, like, a piece of the person in the voodoo doll for it to actually work? Question mark. For that to be the case. So there's no way they have some sort of material from him, right? So that's not going to happen.
My husband saw a post on Chinese social media. A former student of yours wrote, and this is translated, so I'm going to read it. Okay. Karen Reed was my university professor. Back when I was applying for graduate school, she was the one who wrote my recommendation letter. She is sharp-minded, always positive, and someone I often had long, inspiring talks with. She encouraged me a lot. She even told me how I should learn to protect myself in the future. The financial industry is not a stranger to male supervisors and female subordinates with quid pro quo situations. I watched all the live stream news coverage of her trial. I tried to stay in touch, but I couldn't find her LinkedIn, so I decided to write this post to commemorate her. She will always have a special place in my heart.
Is her name Claire?
Can you check? Yeah. You remember?
There was a group of Chinese students I had around 2018 that I got very close with, and they would just hang around, and it stood out to me because it was winter semester, and I taught till about like 10 at night. So when a student stuck around, they'd walk me to my car. I did bond with that group, and one in particular named Claire, but it might not be because I think I am connected to her on LinkedIn. I'm sad I don't speak Chinese because I never saw that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The name I saw was Lulu Chan. Maybe that's her Chinese name.
Oh, I do know who that is.
You do?
I do know who, oh my God. I have not thought about her in a minute because of all that's happened. I do know exactly who that is.
Wait,
Lulu
you
Chan,
remember all your students?
I remember her.
Oh my God.
Wow.
No, because if you write a letter and she's saying we had these conversations, I remember very petite and long hair, and she was very very trendy. I remember Lulu.
She even said that one time she walked into the class and you complimented her on her shoes and bag.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, remember her bags. I was just trying to.
She's saying you're the most fashionable teacher. And
that doesn't take much. That doesn't take much.
Wow.
Yeah, she's very fashionable, very earnest, and I know exactly who she is. So hi, Lulu. I hope you're doing well.
Do you miss teaching? Do you like?
I do. Yeah.
What did you mainly teach? Like, so finance, but like what?
I taught.
I feel like, could she easily just become a teacher now? Like, well, teacher again? Question mark. If she's not already teaching, because it seems like she's not teaching. I feel like any school would be like, yeah, sure, come over here. You're famous now. This might get more students to come over here, even though it's like for the wrong reasons. But I feel like if she needs to work somewhere, she could easily get a job teaching now again. Or maybe it would be the opposite. Like maybe there's too much controversy surrounding her, and thus they won't want her. I guess it could go either way. Either they'd be like, oh, look at all the publicity our school will get if we hire Karen Reed, or the opposite of, this is too much bad publicity. We don't want Karen here. You know, except for the fact that it seems like everyone loves Karen, question mark, outside of, you know, the Brian clique. So yeah, I don't know.
I taught a few different courses, but mainly I taught an introduction to capital markets, like how the stock market works, how a company goes public, how to analyze a company's financial statements. We did a lot of real world examples. I taught through the financial crisis. I started teaching in 07 or 08. I started at Fidelity in 07, and I started teaching in 08. I felt at Fidelity I was very, very much junior. I was a very small fish and just the best pond to be in, but it was difficult on my self-esteem. It was a lot of strong personalities, incredibly intelligent, the biggest investors, literally the biggest investors. It was a great place. I would never have left on my own accord if I didn't have to, but I felt just for my self-esteem, I wanted to do more. I felt like teaching kept me sharp in a different way. Work, I was always, my full-time job, I was always learning, but teaching, you have to be prepared every class that there is a student smarter than you, or many students smarter than you, at least on some topic, that there is something he or she has a personal interest in, broad or narrow, and they are going to know more than you. And you have to know, how deep can I prepare? How much can I help enhance this subject matter? And when do you say, I'm not familiar with that. I'm not familiar with that company, or I'm not familiar with that investment product. You cannot fake it. And this is, Bentley is not the Ivy League, but I had incredibly intelligent Ivy League worthy students every semester that I did learn things from, but you've got to know your boundaries. But you also want to push them that if there is interest from students in a topic that I'm not overly comfortable in, how much can I learn so that we can extend this topic? But I loved it. I loved the students. I love being back on campus. I've always been connected to Bentley. My dad's worked there my entire life. I went to basketball camps there in high school. I went to undergrad, I went to grad there, and I miss it. But this, I haven't chosen this, but this was the bigger purpose for me. I don't have children. I don't see that happening at this point. But my legacy is going to be my impact on Massachusetts and possibly broader criminal justice. And what I did at Bentley and what I did at Fidelity can be easily, maybe Bentley not so easily, because teachers, you have freedom and subjectivity to turn a class into whatever you want to turn it into. But this is, like it or not, this is what I'm here for. And this is what my parents and my friends and my lawyers, this is why they went to law school. We're going to change. We've already changed things. Even if I was convicted, the change has happened. People, even if that jury came back and convicted me, people who watched every day of that trial, or 3 days of the trial, know what they saw. They don't need a jury to confirm it for them. I've read comments online when I've indulged against my better instincts that I'm going to let it play out. It hasn't been, I'm not going to abide this conspiracy. It's all up to the jury. I've read many comments like that. Like, it's usually from the other side, the baddies. Let it play out. This is for a jury to decide. Like, what a narrow-minded way to go through life, that I'm going to let a jury tell me. I mean, it's one thing if you don't watch it, then I guess the jury is the next best thing. What is their opinion? Juries tend to be reasonable, but read the filings, watch the witnesses. What are you you're gonna let someone else make up your mind for you? That's like having someone else tell you who should be president. Well, I didn't vote for this president, but that's who the majority says, so that's who it should be. Those comments are, it's just a cop-out. It's a way to not address the elephant in the room.
Would you ever be a lawyer? Like, would you ever become one? Never.
Like, oh, who wants to be a lawyer? Question mark. You know, other than the people who are lawyers, right? Like, oof.
Never. I feel the system is too broken, and
I guess if you want a lot of money, question mark.
I'm too old. I think if I were younger and I had more energy.
Old? Isn't all the people she was working with in her firm older than her? Question mark. Or at least the same age, I guess. I'd assume they're at least in their 50s. Maybe some of them are younger. I don't know. I feel like too old is not an excuse. I don't think she's old. Too old.
Our law clerks, who we were so blessed to have, which was a brainchild of Alan Jackson's before the first trial. Like I'm running out of money. I've got a house, and then I'm out, and then I just have to hope the charity of others gets me there. And he said, "Well, I've got an idea. Let's see if there's any law students. We've got the best universities up here. Let's see if any third-year law students want to help." And we just got a rush. David went to BC Law. Alan went to Harvard, and we had a week of interviews, Zooms. David and I interviewed. Each law school sent out a wanted email.
Wow.
David and I did the BC interviews. Alan and Liza did the Harvard, and we probably did about 40. And that was all we could have taken more. Probably did 40 each. And we each picked our favorites. And then I think we kind of convened on the others. And my pick, so I interviewed the Harvard, the BC. My number one pick from the jump was Evan Wolk, who ended up working on the trial the most for us. They were all great. And then towards the end of trial, Evan had a contract to work at a big firm in the Seaport. And I said, I would love for you to go work with Alan, like, because he and Alan got on, and Liza, the three of them, like, there was a real, Alan and Liza have a great complementary dynamic, and Evan just fit right in, and I kind of engineered it. I've talked to Evan privately, and then I would talk to Alan, and now Evan's with Alan. Alan and Liza interviewed the Harvard students, and we ended up choosing 4 or 5. Among them was the editor of the Harvard Law Review. She's graduated, but Sophia Hunt, she was kind of our leader of the interns, like the conduit between the interns and Liza, who was managing the interns. But we could not have done what we did in the second trial with a whole new prosecution, new witnesses, trying to keep out the voir dires and the Daubert hearings, which we did not have the first trial. It took us 3 days to get Dr. Russell qualified to testify in trial 2. This is after she's already testified in trial 1. I had to fly her up here for 3 days of hearings. Same with Arca. I can't remember if we had to voir dire or Daubert, Dr. LaPasada, but every witness that Brennan could challenge, every expert, he did. And we could never have handled that. We did not have the bandwidth without these law students. I mean, they would sleep at the hotel on couches in our room.
9 Massachusetts law students volunteering for Karen Reed's defense team. Okay.
They wear the same suits the next day. I mean, they were indefatigable and just a total lifesaver. They become like family to us. They helped save my life, and I didn't know them 1 minute, and hopefully, I know them forever now.
Did you guys have a group chat?
We did. We called it the.
Here we go with the group chat stuff. Again, I just don't know anything about these group chats. Apparently, everybody in the grandma has group chats. Even Karen Reed has group chat.
I don't know if you heard the name for the ARCA witnesses. They were called Crash Daddies. Our group name for the third-year law students was Crash Graddies.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because they all graduated, and one of our interns was getting married, graduating, and moving to Chicago to start her job, all within like 2 weeks. So they were all Sophie, who's is like a little, more like a daughter to me, I guess, but I treat her like a little sister. She hasn't graduated yet, but the other 8 have all graduated. So our group thread, I think it's me with the 8 of them, or the 9 of them, was Crash Graddies.
That's so good. Speaking of, have you seen the clip where it appears that Auntie Bev, it appears from social opinion that she's checking out Crash Daddy?
Oh yeah, I remember this.
Have you seen?
I've seen that.
Later. Okay.
I've seen that. It's played in slow motion, which anything in slow motion, that's how you get Exhibit A, is pausing things at the wrong time. Yeah. She seems too self-conscious of a woman to have done that, knowing she was on camera. But what you're referring to, I have seen.
You're going to stay in Massachusetts forever.
No, God, I hope I don't have to stay much longer in Massachusetts.
Where do you want to live?
Anywhere but Massachusetts.
49 other states.
Yeah, anywhere. I could be in the middle of the woods. I could be on a farm. I could be on the water. I don't care. I care who I'm with. Yeah. I don't want to see another Massachusetts state trooper. I don't care if they're reformed or under a different colonel. I have taken too many shots at law enforcement to feel protected by law enforcement, although we have had many positive experiences. Yeah. I hope law enforcement that supports me, or at least believes me, in Massachusetts understands what has happened to me at the hands of law enforcement and why I feel the way I do. My grandfather, my mother's father, was a police officer. Obviously, John was a police officer. I am not anti-law enforcement, but I have had many, many members of law enforcement abuse my rights and lie. And that's as far as I'll go. And I can prove that they have lied. I hope the good law enforcement knows why I feel the way I do, but I don't feel safe in Massachusetts. I don't feel that the politics are safe. It's not that those problems don't exist everywhere else, but I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to see any more of the law. I will try to make change in other ways, but the legal system just feels so broken. I look at my lawyers and I just think, what made you go into this? Yeah. You're just such an underdog. Mm-hmm. You're battling the resources of the state, sometimes with a defendant that can't even make bail. And then how do you hire the crash daddies and LaPasada and Dr. Russell? And the government can go with a blank check to Aperture and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and pay.
Special prosecutor Hank Brennan was paid approximately $500,000 in taxpayer funds by the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office for his role in the Karen Reed murder retrial, working at a rate of $250 an hour from late 2024 to mid 2025. And this is the guy who was the second trial prosecutor, question mark, I think. That's something I was going to say. Oh yeah, she's talking about all this stuff about the Massachusetts law enforcement and government and whatnot. And she's still in civil cases, right? I don't know what she's all in. I still don't know if it was said earlier correctly, where she's in a civil lawsuit against Proctor. Like if she's, I don't know what that even means. She's suing him or something. I wonder if they would take what was just said there, like, oh, the whole Massachusetts law enforcement, well, not all of it, but like it's generalizing, but it's all bad. It's all rotten, right? If they would try to use that against her. I don't know how you would use it against her, but I mean, I wouldn't hold it past them to take this interview and try to spin it in some sort of way to screw Karen over. I don't know.
A special prosecutor, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
You want to make change, but not get into law. Where do you see yourself, like, in 5 years? Where would you hope your life to be?
I hope within 5 years.
Not in Massachusetts?
The book, which I think will take longer. I'm not even, I can get there if I have to, but I'm not even in the headspace to start regurgitating and reliving all this. I would, and I need the money, so I'll do it when I have to start doing it. But I think the easiest thing I can do is just keep telling the story. There's so many facets to this that the public doesn't know just because there hasn't been, I mean, this is my first real interview. There's so much of what is entailed in this fight that you know more about this case than average, partly because it's played out twice and it's about to be played out in a different form a third time. But what it takes to mount a defense, to even stay somewhat competitive to the prosecution, I think the details, the financial costs, the sweat equity, what these lawyers have to sacrifice.
Sweat equity.
It really amazes me. And my case was easy to prove. My case was logical. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And we still were met with just such a fight from the government that I've paid taxes to. And they threw everything at me that they could and didn't come close. I think the public needs to know, they need to be more careful. They need to know their rights. They need to know not ever to speak to law enforcement. Unfortunately, we can't cooperate the way we would think we need to, because if God forbid this goes south, it will be used against you in a court of law. It will be manipulated against you in a court of law. It will be taken out of context against you in a court of law. You know, we're trying to put together this YouTube channel.
I was saying, like, aren't they going to take this interview and use it against her, question mark, if she still is doing some court stuff? The Reed Files, almost 6,000 subscribers.
Alan and I, and I read a couple comments, like, I'm done hearing from Karen. What does she have to, I can tell you what it's like to be a defendant, and I can tell you what it takes to be the system. It's a lot more than what you think. I've lived now 6 months, 3 continuous at a time, with my defense team, with ancillary members of the defense team, with law students. We had a documentary crew with us at one point. It's emotional and trying and exhausting, and there's a lot of choreography and personnel management, I'll call it, to walk into court looking how we looked every day, and to be cohesive. And I had 3 men in their 60s from 3 different firms, very seasoned in their careers, all having spent time as prosecutors. And then Liza made partner along the way, also experienced with her own opinions. We don't just show up and put Kelly Deaver on the stand. Everyone has their own experience and therefore their own strategy and their own way of doing things. And they all fall on me to break the tie. It's very, very trying. It's why I feel this crash from trial, because it wasn't just sitting there and trying to keep my emotions in check, which sometimes I didn't do a very good job of. It was what was happening. Honestly, trial, sitting there, was oftentimes easier than having to go home. The worst nights, the worst moments of trial at times were Monday and Tuesday nights, where we just had a grueling day at court and some big witness is coming on Thursday, or worse, we think a big witness is coming Thursday, but Brennan hasn't finalized the batting order yet. So it could be the children are testifying on Thursday, or it could be Bubnik, or it could be Tully, one of the 4. I mean, that's how it goes. That's the dirty pool that's happening, is we are finding out sometimes within 1 day's notice who is going to testify. We were told that, now I can't remember her name, the dog DNA expert from UCal Berkeley, she was on the witness list. We were told every Friday when the judge would call us up at sidebar and say, what are the plans, who's coming up next? We were told every Friday, she's coming, she should be coming this week, we're trying to make travel arrangements, she should be coming, she never came. And we have our own opinions about why she didn't testify, but it wasn't as if we had this roadmap of trial and we had some time to plan. We, for example, did not know if we could call ARCA until trial had already started. So Judge Cannoni told Alan the morning of opening statements in trial 2 that she had not made up her mind about ARCA, and he was therefore disallowed from mentioning ARCA in his opening statements. So that meant Hank Brennan presented his case, and you're going to hear from Aperture, ladies and gentlemen, and 2 PhDs. Oh, well, that's right. Shannon Burgess lied about his degrees. One PhD is going to tell you that that car backed up at 24 miles an hour, 62 feet, and it spun him around like a top, and he fell and cracked his head open. Then we get up to give opening statements, and we've got the federally contracted ARCA PhDs who've done all this work, and we've had them now for a year, and we can't mention them. So if jurors were paying
Yeah, like I feel like we remember that. Like that, do we hear about that in the actual court videos? Because that sounds vaguely familiar. That the prosecution got to do whatever they want with the crash experts, but the defense was not allowed to talk about all the work that they put in, like she's saying right now. I feel like we heard that before, which again just more favor for the prosecution. Because what do you mean they're not allowed to talk about that? Yeah, you said that it was. So yeah, it was in the other Rotten Mango videos.
attention, they'd say, well, wait a minute. So the prosecution has a physical reconstructionist who's going to tell us that car damaged that body and that body damaged that car. But Reed doesn't have, why they can't prove it? So they go into trial thinking, I don't think Reed can physically prove that this didn't happen. This is Kanoni handicapping us. So she said to Alan, the morning of opening, you have 10 minutes. I have not ruled on ARCA. And Alan said, Your Honor, it's in my opening statement. I can't not talk about them. They're arguably our two most important witnesses. And she's...
It's kind of weird. Like, I just don't know how this stuff works, but for them, like, the judge can just say, like, hey, you're not allowed to talk about this scientific information that you've gone into, or just, like, you're not allowed to talk about this thing, even though your prosecution is going to talk about the exact same thing. You're not allowed to talk about it. That doesn't make any sense.
He said, you have 10 minutes to sit at the table and edit your opening. And she gave him exactly that. I've never seen Alan, and I've seen him in different states of pressure. This was unspeakable, what she was putting him through. And he is so choreographed and fastidious and meticulous, and everything flows. It's not a stream of consciousness. It's something he's worked and massaged. And he reiterates themes as he goes through. He didn't just talk about ARCA once. He introduced them in the beginning. There was no collision. There was no collision.
There was no collision with John O'Keefe. There was no collision. There was no collision. There was no collision. There was no collision. There was no collision.
And then he goes into detail throughout that all had to be excised and still flow. These are fights that we were made to endure that we shouldn't have. And it was something like this multiple times a day of this magnitude. So I think, long answer to your question about the next 5 years, even just for therapeutic reasons, I want people who care to know everything that happened.
You're still fighting. So you had the 2 trials, but now there's a civil fight. There's multiple civil
Okay, multiple civil. I want to know what these exactly are.
fights. How much is that going to cost?
My biggest expense is logistics. The amount of work required is just so vast. I mean, it took 3 different firms, Yannetti, DLA Piper, where Bob was from, and Worksman Jackson, for 2 trials. We didn't even make it through the first time around. We had to do it again. And now I currently have 3 civil trials happening. I have the O'Keefe wrongful death suit in Plymouth County, Massachusetts. I have my suit against Canton PD and Massachusetts State Police in Bristol County, Massachusetts, both state.
What she's saying against them, so I'm assuming she's going against them.
And now I have the federal with the Alberts, McCabe's, Higgins, Proctor, Tully, and Buchnick. So that's 3. Alan is still one of my attorneys. I am not currently compensating Alan, but I do pay for all the travel and logistics. I have paid modestly so far, she and Finney, but the amount of work they've done on a billable hour rate is already astronomical. I mean, they're doing something robust for my case as I sit here right now. They're amazing.
I mean, if anything, it's in their favor to do it, even if she can't pay, right? 'Cause she's already this big face that they can. I mean, mooch is a hard word to use. I'm not really trying to use it in a bad way, but just to get the sentence through, they could just mooch off of her, like, success in these cases already to be, yeah, we'll do it for free. We just need the publicity of saying, hey, look, we also helped Karen Reed out, right? So I feel like a lot of these law firms might just help her out for not necessarily free, but, you know, don't have to pay until it's all over. There's a lot of places like that around, I think, that will help you for free until you win. Like, you don't pay until you win, or slash if you win. Like literally on the radio over here, there's some sort of law firm that's like, hey, you don't have to pay until you win your case or something like that.
And there's 3 of them, and they're all just like Alan's firm. They're all complementary. They work together for a reason because they're good together.
No, there's some issues with that too, right? Because like, okay, you won, but like, what's the bill gonna be? They could just charge you anything, right? You don't know. So you would have to hope that they're not gonna screw you over. Like, yeah, they won you your case, but now they're gonna want an arm and a leg, and then another arm and a leg on top of that.
Worst is over. I am used to fighting now. If any party to this thinks this is inflicting pain on me, you don't understand what I've been through and what I've survived and what I can handle, and you don't understand what's going on and what more is about to be revealed. I mean, we were hamstrung, in our opinion, badly at trial. There's more evidence and there's more of a story to tell, and it has to be done. We have to finish this. It's why Alan is still involved. It's why Damon, he was my parents' attorney throughout the last year, but it's why Damon wants to be a part of this civil suit as well. But we have a lot more to do, and luckily we know this case so well. So many of us know it so well. It's just a matter of understanding civil law and how this all has to play out, and it's even more tedious than the criminal court.
Yeah. And I know you have a civil fund set up. I'm gonna leave that in the description for people to support. I think it's
Can read civil. What? Civil and?
a civil fund set up. I'm gonna leave.
Can read civil defense and accountability fund. Yeah, that's not a lot. You can't see it. There's a thing here. They've barely gotten anything. You expect more from that at this point, right?
That in the description for people to support. I think it's interesting because there is
Maybe it's new.
this narrative that like you got a book deal, you have all this money from the documentary, which we're finding out is not true. You sold your house. We do know that's true. You lost years of your life that you could have been working. You lost your careers. You used up your savings. You cashed out on your retirement. You sold your treadmill.
Oh, I did sell. Who said that?
It was in an interview.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that. I did sell my treadmill. I think I gave it to my neighbor. Did my neighbor take my treadmill?
Yeah.
I sold it to my neighbor. My neighbors were lovely. They're a young family, and they had a baby in the middle of all this. It was funny because I would, not like a creep, but I would watch them out the window. My bedroom faced their house, and I would hear the little baby that was born. I want to say their baby was born in the winter of 2022. I would hear the baby outside and think, what a juxtaposition that I'm going through this in this house, and they're so lovely, my neighbors, my old neighbors, and they're starting this family. And when they bought the house, I don't even think they were married yet, and they're growing. The firstborn's getting bigger, and it didn't make me sad. It was like life is always starting fresh, and life it's not always happy. It won't always be happy for them, but it is. There's always another moment of happiness, even if there's tragedy in it. But yeah, I've not made anything, not a dime. I don't have a movie. I don't have a book. When I do, you'll know. And there are obstacles even to that. A book, my understanding is if we are authors, we could be given some to write the book, almost as if we were taking a sabbatical to write this book. With a movie, what I'm learning is someone like me who would be selling her life rights for the movie, I wouldn't really be able to monetize that until the movie is actually in production, that my rights are actually, it's like a stock option. They're actually going to be, the rights will actually be exercised. So no, I love my parents, but I don't know that the 3 of us need to live together until the end of time. I'd love to live with them in a bigger house where we can spread out. But no, obviously, if I were making millions or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, ask the people who live on Country Hill Drive in North Dayton. That's where I live, and I'm lucky I have them, and I feel safe, and I'm lucky I can enjoy my parents at this age, and we don't have this trial over our heads anymore. But no, I'd like to be doing things. I'd like to regain some more strength physically. I don't know that I like to travel right now, but I'd like to be.
Is like, I don't know where people are going to give Karen like $1 million, bunch of $1 million, buy her a mansion for her and her parents to live in. She just said like she wished she was in a bigger house, at least living with her parents. Like, is she just going to get a mansion out of nowhere donated to her? I wouldn't think that wouldn't happen. The crazier things have happened. I've heard people just give people mansions before. I mean, it's crazy, but like it could happen.
Somewhere with the people I love, and I haven't been able to because I don't have the resources. I have had some very generous people help me in small ways and not so small ways celebrate. I've had people open their homes to me and my family and really enjoy life for a few moments. People that owed me nothing and I've gotten a lot of offers I haven't taken, but and I've got a lot of work to do. So wherever I go, I can't really just unplug. But I haven't made any money. I haven't made any. If you can find an example, if someone has a receipt, by all means, and I'll answer to it. They can send it to you, and I will answer to that.
Speaking of money in movies, you're not making any money from the Amazon Prime movie with Elizabeth Banks. Is it Amazon Prime?
Elizabeth.
Okay, it's something on Amazon Prime. I have Prime right now, so.
I thought it was Hulu.
Oh,
that,
Hulu.
I have
Okay,
nothing to do with that.
Okay, and
so I am not making any money. I will not be making any money from that.
The new Lifetime movie.
So I just heard about that yesterday. I refreshed my news feed and I saw
Accused, the Karen Reed story. People out here just making stories, well, movies and documentaries about Karen without Karen's input, because she said she doesn't know anything about the Amazon Prime one. So what is this?
the announcement from Lifetime, and it's funny. The actress, I actually saw a still. Apparently, this
She looks pretty young.
They filmed this, and it's coming out in January. Is I think what I read. It's on their docket for January. And the actress Katie Cassidy, her father David Cassidy, he was on a show in the '70s called The Partridge Family, and it was a band. Have you heard of The Partridge Family? It was like in the Brady Bunch era, like bell bottoms and kind of poppy, catchy music. And it was they were a band, and they also had a TV show. And he was like a teenage heartthrob, they used to call him. And he had a brother, I think a half brother, Sean Cassidy, who was also in a band in the late '70s. They were in a Broadway play where they played brothers separated at birth, and one went one side of the tracks and one went the other in London, and they reconnected unbeknownst to them and became best friends, and then found out they were actual brothers. And it was an amazing musical. It was in 1995 that I saw this play with my family, and David Cassidy was a star. And I was talking to my dad last night, and I said, who would have, I was 15 in 1995, who would have thought that we're in this little, it's called the Music Box Theater right off Broadway in Midtown Manhattan. Who would have thought that I guess David Cassidy was maybe in his 40s at the time, that his daughter would play me in a movie. So I feel some kinship. I've seen her in a remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. That is the best version I've seen of that movie. If you're into horror movies, it's good. That's all I know, but I have nothing, I didn't even know it was happening.
Is Karen into horror movies? What? Kindred? Spirit? I don't know how many people here actually watch horror stuff, question mark. I mean, I don't really watch movies, but I mean, I like horror, question mark. I would be doing more horror stuff on the channel if I had the time, but if I was just able to do. I mean, I can, I just need to get around to doing it, right? We did what? Horror Simulator at some point during December. Was it December or November? I forget when I was playing that. We need to go back to that and have like radical breaks in the rad videos for Horror Simulator, because that's something I could just jump into, you know, go into a level, try to figure out what the spooky demon is, and then get out, right? We got to go back to that. Yeah, I would love to do a bunch of more horror stuff. It's just I don't have the computer for it, which I'm not going to plug the throne right now to talk about a computer. But if I had a better computer and not a 12-year-old piece of junk like I do, then I would just be playing whatever I want, right? Because I would actually have the horsepower to just, oh yeah, cool new horror game, let me just play that. Oh, this cool free horror game, let me play that. Yeah, I'm a connoisseur of horror, if you will. I mean, I like horror stuff to the point where I'm just sensitized to that kind of thing.
Happening. I will not be seeing any. I'd like, if they want to send me some money, I'll gladly take it. But I didn't know anything.
You hear
about
that, Lifetime?
It's weird that you can just make a movie about somebody and they don't see a dime, right? Because Lifetime's making a movie about her, and it's like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter that we're making a movie about you. This movie is about you. You're getting no money, question mark, no royalties. What? You can just do that? Make a movie about someone's life and they just get no compensation?
If this is getting the story out, get it out. Yeah. It's compelling. It's a moment in history. I don't blame these people for making these movies, but I will say I have gone through a lot of pain and lost a lot. And you're telling my story to make money, and you're not involving me. How much will people take on my coattails and not show any economical appreciation? So
yeah, that also means they're doing this story without her input, so who knows if it's even accurate. Hey, Savage. We're fine. How are you? We're almost done, though, actually. Because isn't it... Yeah, we have, what, 6 minutes? 5 minutes? There's only 5 minutes left of this.
I wish these people luck in their endeavors, but I hope they know what I've lost for them to tell this story.
Yeah, because it seems like Karen is broke. Like, giga broke. At this point, from all the the lawsuits and whatnot, and still kind of going through a civil lawsuit. So it's kind of like oof that people are just making movies and allegedly about her without her inputs, without her semi-knowledge of them doing it, and just potentially making money off of her and her not seeing a dime. That's kind of messed up.
I know that you guys are working on the YouTube show, but if we were to end it on a lighter note, if I were to summon you with a magical spell, you have to pick 5 things or objects that speak to you. What would you pick?
What is that question? I gotta hear this question again.
With a magical spell, you have to pick 5 things or objects that speak to you. What would you pick?
That speak to you? Like just her favorite things? I would have to see her answers to like understand this question.
5 things or objects that speak to me. Well, one easy one would be rosary beads. I'm religious.
Sure.
I don't pray as much as I should pray. I should be praying many times a day, and I do not. But when I was in jail both times, I prayed the rosary without my rosary beads over and over. I actually used it to help myself keep time because I know it takes me 15 minutes. I have a friend who actually gave me rosary beads that were made with yellow roses that were on John's casket because I was not at John's funeral, but she grabbed a handful of petals and made me rosary beads. So those are very precious to me. I had someone...
I'm guessing she wasn't at it because of, I don't know, she was locked in jail, she was in court, or I'm guessing they just didn't want her to be there. Question marks. Who knows what would happen to her if she actually showed up?
This is something that was just recently rosary beads, so those are very precious to me. I had someone, this is something that was just recently, it's not in my possession, but it means something to me, and I'd like to get my own copy. Alan had a renowned courtroom artist in Los Angeles. I believe she's retired now. She just goes by the first name Mona. She did a courtroom sketch, which is fascinating. It's like, looks like a mix of watercolor and like pencil, and it's Alan in great detail. It's very small. It's Alan. My parents are behind him. Jen McCabe, Brian Albert, and Colin Albert, it's during closing argument, are in the O'Keefe's gallery, and I'm turning around looking at Alan, and it was amazing. I asked Alan if we can please commission her to do one that I can keep. I've gotten like so many photos. There's a photo that someone took in the courtroom. There's 2. It's not really the photo, but it's that moment that I would never remember with the clarity without the photo, but there's several of me kissing my dad that are just perfect. And then there's one hugging my parents. I know a gentleman named Greg Durr, D-E-R-R, is a photographer. I think he's just part of the Associated Press, or he works for the Boston Globe, but he's really commemorated some amazing moments. But there's one where I'm hugging my parents after the verdict, and my hair is kind of pulled tight, and I've got my fists are like this, and I'm hugging, and I just know exactly how I felt. There's a couple photos of my dad that I kissed him every day, and my mom, so I don't remember specific that moment, but hugging them after the verdict, I remember.
Are we grouping all those photos together, or as like that's just all of her things, or just the beads, the sketch, and then the photos?
Other than that, there aren't many objects that mean much to me. I've learned to become more transient, less sentimental through this process because, I mean, I had a house that was big for me that I filled with things that I collected in art, and luckily I gave a lot of it to a cousin of mine who I know is going to look after it, and I actually hope he keeps it all because I love him. But I'm not too attached really to anything physically anymore. When your freedom is on the line, none of this material stuff, you could lose it all, and it all has a monetary value. My treadmill had granted it was not used very much, but none of it means anything. So I don't have too many objects. There's photos, I don't even know if those count, but I don't have too many physical objects that mean all that much to me.
No, but those are like the best ones, the ones you just said. I really hope, don't listen to those people. I really hope that we hear a lot more from you talking about your own case yourself. We're gonna look forward to the YouTube show. I think it's gonna hopefully come out around the time this comes out, hopefully.
We are gonna be having a YouTube channel launch, hopefully in January 2026, The Read Files.
The Read Files.
I'm wondering if Stephanie is going to watch whatever videos are on the Read Files and like do a video on it. Like if she's gonna keep talking about Karen, I wouldn't hold that past her. If that's something she ends up doing. There's only like 20 minutes left of this video, 20 seconds though.
That'll be Alan
yeah,
Jackson,
there's that.
Nick Rocco is going to host, and I'll be there on the read.
Okay. You're there. And that's a wrap!
You can follow Karen Reed on her new show, The Read Files. The link to donate to her civil defense fund is in the description. And that is going to be that. We kept that one pretty short. I was worried that it might be a 3-hour, 4-hour long reaction, but with the speed up, that shaved off a lot of time, so as usual. So we just kept it pretty much just the exact same time. Like this stream's 2 hours and 40 minutes, the video's 2 hours and 20. So we probably added like 40 minutes of conversation on top of that because of the speed up. But yeah, just seems like not necessarily that everything's okay. I mean, she won the trials. She's still in a civil trial. She, no, seems to be broke. She kind of needs money. Question mark. We got new footage though. That was cool though. New footage of her being arrested by No Nudes Proctor and him just being a scumbag still. Wasn't there more footage other than the arrest? Yeah, her just arrest stuff, I think. I wonder what like kind of more interesting stuff would show up on the Read Files YouTube channel. Again, I suspect that Stephanie might do videos on that channel, so I'm not gonna watch them in preparation for her possibly doing them herself. Yeah, at least she is okay, question mark, and not in jail. I mean, she's fine. She's living with her parents, right? Just see where these civil cases go, see what happens with that and whatnot. Apparently, whenever she's going to make a book, that book's come out. Again, it's crazy that you can just make a movie on somebody, you know, Lifetime, whoever it was that was doing it, and not talk to the person at all and just make money off of them. Like, I thought you can't do that kind of stuff, but I guess you just can. You know, especially in the documentary, too, where they actually had her input and didn't give her a dime for that either. So, again, like, I think she actually needs the money because she's broke from all the lawsuits that are, like, destroyed her life, question mark. Yeah, I think that is going to be it for today. We obviously said all we had to say. A perfectly fine video, as usual. Again, I'm anticipating more Karen stuff in the future, maybe, from Stephanie. So we'll have to wait and see if that's something that ends up happening in the future. Though we're probably going to take a step back from Stephanie content for a while. I mean, at least a day. Right, tomorrow I'm probably not going to do anything for Rad because I didn't Rad like 3 days in a row now. So tomorrow will probably be an empty day, and then the next day after that will be someone other than Stephanie because I think we've done too much Stephanie stuff back to back to back. And then we'll see from there. Yep, I think we could just go ahead and end now. So yeah, cuties, thanks for watching. Remember to buy my stickers, think about becoming a member, or subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because we're working on watch time and subscribers. And don't forget we have a throne now as well. Obviously it's there on the screen. Again, shout out to Sienna for contributing to the PC Fundies. There's 2% funded. I was just talking about like needing a new computer to just be able to do what I actually want with my channel, but I just don't have that new computer to just get away with really doing anything and everything that I want to do with the channel. It's just not strong enough for that. Yeah, also shout out to the members, EmmyStarr, RaleyDrew, and alexgkiller 880. So yeah, have a good night, Savannah. Why did I say Savannah? I think it was because I was thinking of Sienna, so like combined them together. Good night, Savage. Yeah, guys. I can't stop saying guys, even though we switched over to saying hey, cuties. So, cuties, thanks for watching. Tune into the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment. You know the do. See ya.